One Piece. The First Family. Chapter 61. When Orochimaru heard that Roger refused to become his fighting force, he was not angry, but formed a seal with his hands. It's not up to you. Just accept my control. Marine hero Garp, how about such an ability? Next, please taste it. After forming the seal, he opened his mouth wide and spit out a Kusanagi sword. This is the hardest sword, made of the hardest material. He knew Roger in detail, that is, Roger was not only the owner of the top conqueror's haki, but also the top swordsman. Naturally, such a person must be equipped with a good weapon. Then he threw it in front of Roger and inserted it into the ground, which was enough to show the sharpness of this sword. Roger couldn't help but hold it up, and then walked towards Garp, but his face was a little panicked. What did you do to me? Why is my body out of control? Did you control me? Garp, be careful. Garp's face has turned serious now. Can this guy still control One Piece Roger? As for spitting out a sword from his mouth, it is nothing unusual compared to resurrecting Roger. He sighed. I misjudged this guy. This guy was much scarier than that little blonde girl. Even One Piece Roger was able to resurrect and was more controllable. At this time, Roger directly raised his Kusanagi sword and swung a terrifying black slash at Garp. Garp clenched his fists, and his fists became extremely black. He directly smashed the terrifying slash and asked aloud. Roger, can you still be controlled by a kid? It would be too embarrassing. Roger was also speechless. He wants to desperately control his body. He is One Piece Roger, so naturally he will not be treated as a puppet by others. But I found that I couldn't feel my body at all and was completely cut off from contact. Shouted. No, I can't control my body at all. At this time, Roger had already rushed in front of Garp, wielding the Kusanagi sword and slashed at Garp. Garp blocked it with a fist. A war is about to break out. The collision of the iron fists and swords of both sides produced a terrifying wind pressure. The strong wind even hit everyone present. Let their hearts feel cold. Minato came behind Brother Snake. Brother Snake, this combat power is really easy to use. It's very good. It can knock this old man down. Orochimaru responded immediately. Certainly. He didn't forget that he was looked down upon by this person, but he didn't like being looked down upon very much. Roger was able to have an even fight with Garp, which shows that the Roger he summoned was at his peak, and Baizetsu's body was really easy to use. While he was happy, he also felt vaguely uneasy. Although there was a reason for this incident, it was to protect his sister. But there is no doubt that it will cause terrifying tremors in the sea. After returning to the family, he may be severely punished by his father. He thought of finding some beautiful beauties for his father. If you don't bring some small gifts back to your father, how can you calm down his anger? But now that something like this has happened, the surrounding civilians have all run away, making it even more difficult to find them. When first met Marine before, it seemed like there was a very good candidate. He turned his attention to the female Marine with a smile on his face. He looks very good, wearing glasses, short hair parted in the middle, and wearing floral clothes that are a bit rustic, but his figure is undoubtedly very good, his face is also very handsome, and he is very young. Great for gifts. Dasky noticed the young man staring at him, as if staring at prey. I felt a cool feeling all over my body. Could it be that you attracted the other person's attention? It seems that he didn't do anything out of the ordinary. At this time, Smoker was paying attention to Roger and Garp in the battle. Totally surprised, is this the strength of One Piece? To be able to fight Lieutenant General Garp to such an extent was completely evenly matched. That slash was so terrifying that only Lieutenant General Garp could handle it. If he went up, he would be injured just by this terrifying slash. Even if he uses the Logia Devil Fruit ability to smoke, it won't work. One Piece Roger is obviously armed with domineering power, which is the method that can cause harm to himself. One Piece is a legendary figure. It is very normal to be armed and domineering. His achievement in armed color domineering is not necessarily much lower than Garp's armed color domineering. Even Bogart, the lieutenant brought by Garp, also had a solemn look on his face. This kind of battle is definitely not something he can participate in. The only one he can deal with is that terrifying kid. To summon One Piece, all you have to do is control it and give orders to Marine and Smoker. Follow me and catch that boy. After speaking, he rushed out first, and the Marine he brought also rushed out. Smoker and Dasky also made their choices. Although there is no direct affiliation, they also know what is most important at this moment. They obviously couldn't participate in the battle between Lieutenant General Garp and Roger. The only way to stop Roger from committing a crime is to catch the young man. Although this boy is very strong, he does not have the terrifying teleportation ability like the little blonde girl. Faced with the pursuit of so many people, there is definitely no way to escape. Nami and Nokigao were a little anxious when they saw this scene. Roger is dealing with Marine hero Garp. Can Orochimaru deal with so many Marines? Even though he is very strong, he is just a child. But Orochimaru was not afraid at all when facing everyone's attack, and instead shouted, "Roger, stop them from me." Of course he had no way to deal with it, but he could control Roger. Roger, who was fighting Garp at this moment, focused his eyes and looked directly at the Marines. The terrifying Conqueror's domineering energy spurted out and attacked directly towards those Marines. The terrifying Conqueror's domination directly shook the brains of those Marines. Everyone except Bogart's eyes were blank, and then they fell to the ground with a plop. Even a Marine colonel like Smoker can't withstand Roger's terrifying Conqueror's domineering power, let alone an ordinary Marine like Dusky. Even Bogart felt extremely uncomfortable. He was an elite Marine. I feel a lot of pressure now. Roger's Conqueror's domineering power is still as terrifying as ever. I have felt his Conqueror's domineering power countless times. Otherwise, he would have to fall to the ground and lose consciousness now. Suddenly he felt a terrible crisis coming. He turned around and saw that it was One Piece Roger running towards him. He swung a slash and attacked him. And he could only wave the knife in his hand to resist desperately, but he was still blown away by this flying slash. Bogart, who was blown away by Roger's terrifying slash, fell heavily to the ground. His body was shaking continuously, and he could no longer use his strength. The terrifying impact of Conqueror's haki had already made his body a little stiff. His reaction was not sensitive enough, so he managed to block the terrifying slash, and it was good to be able to save his life. He was a little scared in his heart. One Piece Roger is still as scary as before. At this moment, Garp took action angrily, catching up with Roger, clenching his dark fist as big as a sandbag and hitting his body. In an instant, Roger's body was smashed into pieces. Most of the body was gone. Such a scene shocked Garp himself. Is Roger's body so fragile? You must know that Roger once fought with him, and his iron fist hit him. But Roger, like himself, has a very powerful physique, and he is not someone who can be solved with one blow. Roger's attainments in armed domineering were not much lower than his own. But now his attack actually penetrates his body. Isn't this the real resurrection? No blood guts either. It seems that it is not a real resurrection, but some kind of devil fruit ability. Roger in this state has obviously lost his ability to move. That's fine too. It would be really bad if this weird devil fruit power gave Roger the physical strength he had during his lifetime. Now Garp feels relieved. Roger also found that he couldn't move at this moment, and said happily, "Well done, Garp, so I don't have to be used as a puppet." Garp grinned. "Of course, it's better for you to just bury it in the ground." Roger smiled helplessly after hearing this and asked, "What happened to the thing I asked you to do?" What he was most concerned about now was Ace's affairs. Garp naturally knew what the boy was asking about. He was asked to take care of his son Ace. He didn't think that a little baby could be a threat, let alone that he was of evil blood. Of course, what his father did had nothing to do with Ace, it was just a new life. Very good, it's just that he went to sea to become a pirate like you. I originally wanted him to become a Marine, but in the end it failed. He has now joined the Whitebeard Pirates and became the captain of their second division. You can rest assured. Roger looked at Garp in surprise. He didn't expect that this guy actually wanted to train his son to become a Marine. Fortunately, he didn't become one, otherwise he would be One Piece and his son would be Marine. Wouldn't this be a big joke? Unexpectedly, his son actually became the captain of Whitebeard's second division, so his son should recognize Whitebeard as his father. This made him both helpless and relieved. Under the protection of Whitebeard, he should be able to live happily in this world. After all, Whitebeard is a pirate who can rival him, but he doesn't have as big ambitions as himself, but he values his family more. At this time Garp turned and walked towards Orochimaru. Just rest in peace, you guy. Now I'm going to catch that scary kid. This kid is really scary. Even One Piece Roger can be resurrected. Maybe there is no more terrifying person on the sea. It must be seized and controlled. Walking towards Orochimaru, he said solemnly. It's your turn next. Next, he will attack with all his strength, and there is no way for this guy to escape. And the little blonde girl obviously hasn't recovered the ability to teleport yet. Orochimaru said with a smile on his face when he saw Garp walking towards him. Is this really true? Please look at your back. Garp doesn't know what this guy is up to. Is there something behind him? Turning around, he saw that Roger's body was gradually recovering. The body fragments gradually came together, and Roger's body gradually recovered. It recovered within a few seconds. His eyes widened instantly. His eyes were full of horror. Roger, why aren't you dead yet, you fool? Roger also had a wry smile on his face, he didn't know either. This guy's devil fruit ability is really powerful. His body can actually gradually recover. Doesn't this mean he has immortality? No one on the sea has this. What others have is just tenacious vitality. This young man is really extraordinary. Suddenly his body moved and he walked towards Garp. Garp, be careful. When Garp saw Roger walking over, did he still use him to remind him? My heart was filled with anger. I originally thought that I had killed One Piece Roger with one punch, and all I needed to do next was to control this boy. But I didn't expect that this guy's devil fruit ability was more terrifying than Moonlight Moria, one of the Shichibukai. The corpses created by Moonlight Moria also do not have this ability to automatically repair. But this guy summoned Roger with more than just near-peak abilities. The terrifying Conqueror's Haki, and the Way of the Sword. It's completely like being resurrected. Not only that, he also has the ability to be immortal. It's really bad. This scary kid must be controlled. Garp's momentum surged, and he used Shao to run towards the boy. Orochimaru looked at Garp coming over, not worried at all. Just as Garp arrived, One Piece Roger chased after him with a Kusanagi sword in hand and stood in front of Garp. He started with another terrifying slash. Garp angrily smashed the slash into pieces. Roger, are you going to stop me again? Even he couldn't ignore Roger's slash. With Roger blocking him, it would not be so easy for him to take action against that young man. Roger is also helpless, as his body now doesn't obey his orders at all. He didn't know what this devil fruit ability was. When I was alive, I had never heard of such a devil fruit ability. Such heaven-defying devil fruit abilities shouldn't remain unknown. At this moment, the body started to act spontaneously again, waving the Kusanagi sword and rushing towards Garp. Fighting Garp again. Garp had to deal with it seriously. Although Roger's body was a bit weak after his resurrection, it was useless as long as he was not hit. As for Roger's attack, it was of course impossible for him to resist it. If he took his blow forcefully, his body would definitely be seriously injured, which would be meaningless. This is really a difficult opponent, with peak strength and fragile body, but with immortality, which has made up for this shortcoming. Where did this young man come from? Orochimaru watched the battle between Roger and Garp with great joy. This one-piece puppet is really easy to use. This kind of attack posture is too strong, and he is worthy of being the top strong man in the sea. Then it's time to leave. The news that he summoned One Piece Roger by himself will probably spread soon. At that time, not only Marine, but even the world government will be shocked, and they will send people here. The three major Marine generals may all come. Although they are worse than Garp, they are more capable and more difficult to deal with. Not to mention the world government, no one knows how powerful it is to be able to stand in the world for 800 years. Facing those strong men, having Roger's trump card is obviously not enough. It's too dangerous to stay here. It's time to return to the family. That's completely safe. Minato also looked happy at the moment, having rested and regained some strength. He walked behind Brother Snake and shouted to Roger in the distance. Roger, give him a good beating. Who allowed Garp to bully her like this before? Roger was very helpless when he heard this. He was not being manipulated. I feel a bit sad that as One Piece, I was actually controlled by others after my death. It's really a bit embarrassing. Garp was also speechless. He actually still remembered what happened before and was quite vindictive. Under Orochimaru's control, Roger's offensive became more and more fierce. This guy bullies his sister and looks down on himself, so he must be severely punished. Garp felt very uncomfortable fighting Roger. Roger, this kid, is too fierce. He seems to have endless physical strength, and his first hand is a flying slash. Even he was a little overwhelmed. Blocking such an attack will consume a lot of stamina. After all, he has also aged. Orochimaru naturally did not control Roger to use the most powerful attack. He knew that Roger had a very powerful move called Divine Avoidance. This move may be able to directly destroy Rogue Town. Because Orochimaru doesn't want to kill the hero Garp. Garp is one of the few Marines who is admired by his father. He is a breath of fresh air in Marine. As a Marine, I only capture pirates, not to serve the celestial dragons as a world noble. Such people are unique in Marine. Of course Orochimaru doesn't want to destroy the town either. His father wouldn't like it if he caused havoc for no reason. He led Minato towards the port. On the way, he passed the handsome Marine who wore glasses, short hair parted in the middle, and wore a floral and earthy shirt, and neatly carried him on his body. My father would probably like such a gentle woman, and she would just become his concubine. This time he made such a big fuss, which will definitely make his father angry. Bring this gift back to calm his anger. At least don't be so angry. Minato was a little confused about Snake's behavior. Brother Snake, what are you doing? Orochimaru smiled. This is the woman I brought back to my father. I hope my father won't be angry because we made too much noise. Minato smiled knowingly. This female Marine seems pretty good. I brought two back to my father. My father will definitely be very happy. Orochimaru also laughed after hearing this. Indeed, my little sister is really a genius, and she brought two of them back together as sisters. It feels like it's not enough to take only one, and I don't know if there will be a chance to capture others. Garp, who couldn't separate himself from the battle with Roger, watched the group leave, feeling a little anxious. They even brought a female Marine, which made him extremely angry. It was simply a shame to let him kidnap Marine when he took action, he shouted angrily. Put that Marine down. Minato chuckled. That's not okay. We brought this man back for our father. He will no longer be one of your Marines. Orochimaru looked at her suddenly. Don't talk. Saying such words might make this Marine target his father. My father doesn't like this kind of trouble. He has always been lazy and healthy. If Marine were to target him, that will definitely make you even more angry. Even Minato, the most favored girl, might not be able to bear such a thing. Minato also felt something was wrong and was a little frightened. Grandpa, just forget what I just said. Garp was really pissed off. Did this little girl think he was an idiot? Obviously I heard it with my own ears. But he also came to something even more terrifying. That is, there is a father behind these two brats, so will their fathers be even more terrifying. My body felt a little cold and I was frightened. These two people are already so terrifying, and they will only become more difficult to deal with when they grow up, if they have sufficient physical strength. It is simply impossible to catch them by yourself. Is it from a big family? But this is also impossible. Although I have never understood it, it is impossible not to come into contact with it after walking on the sea for so many years. I have never heard of such a powerful family in the Warring States period. It was impossible for the Warring States period to hide it from himself. After all, I am his helper and an old friend who has fought together. Many things are handled by myself. Then it may be that there is a terrorist family hidden. He looked at Roger, who was fighting against him. Do you know who this man's father is? Of course Roger couldn't figure it out. I don't know, I just woke up. He himself was shocked. For such a powerful person, how powerful must his father be? Could such a powerful person be Joey Boy? My eyes lit up at the thought. Maybe following this young man can answer the questions in his heart. Garp felt helpless and ignored his father's affairs for now. How to deal with Roger was now a difficult problem. Even more difficult to deal with than Roger alive. He finally discovered it. Roger's momentum has always been at its peak. I have a bad guess in my mind. Is this guy's physical strength also unlimited? It's too scary. At this moment, Orochimaru carried Toshiki on his back, took Minato with him, called Nokigao, Nami, and Kuina and left. Naturally, Nokigao, Nami, and Kuina had no objections. The daily necessities have been purchased, so of course we have to leave. If the news of Roger's resurrection spread, the sea would shake. When the time comes, Rog Town will definitely be filled with powerful people. It would be better to leave this place of right and wrong as soon as possible. Next, you can meet Minato's father. I don't know what kind of strange man he is. Nami felt helpless and happy when she saw Orochimaru abducting the female marine and giving it to her father as a gift. Since this marine was their enemy and wanted to force Minato to join the Marines, this behavior was so shameless and he deserved such an end. At the same time, she was also glad that she met Minato instead of Orochimaru, otherwise she might have become a prisoner and given to her father as a gift. Now she and Noji Kona did it voluntarily, not by force. There is still an essential difference. At least she doesn't feel so aggrieved. If this female marine wakes up and learns of such a thing, she will probably be very distressed. Orochimaru is indeed not as innocent as her sister, but rather a bit vicious. Soon after, several people came to the port and drove the boat out to sea. Garp wanted to stop him but he didn't have the energy to pursue him. Every time he went to catch up, Roger would attack him like crazy. It entangled him so tightly that he couldn't free his hands. This guy Roger really seems to have endless strength, and his full strength is comparable to that of his peak period. It's already good if you can withstand this guy's attack. What makes him feel bad is that the battle between the two has destroyed the surrounding terrain, at least the ground has been completely broken. At this time, the residents of the town were hiding far away, even leaving Rog Town. Those who were hit by such battle fluctuations would be seriously injured. If they were hit from the front, their lives would definitely be lost. Naturally, these residents are worried about their houses and goods. The fight between these two men was so terrible that one of them cried out with some sadness. Who are these two people? Why are they causing havoc in the town? One of them is wearing marine clothes, but he is not a local marine. But even if Marine captures the pirates, there is no need to go to war here. Can't we just change to another place? How is this protecting them? It was obvious that their property had been fatally damaged. This is also what most people think. They are also dissatisfied, and of course they are confused. Is there such a terrifying guy in the East China Sea? The strength of these two people is much more terrifying than Colonel Smoker. Shouldn't such a terrifying strong man stay in the Grand Channel? That's where a strong man like this should stay. An older man was completely frightened, sweating profusely, and said tremblingly. If I remember correctly, the guy in the red coat is Roger One Piece who has been dead for decades. I once watched the execution of that year, and this was what One Piece Roger looked like at that time. At that time, he was also excited by Roger's last words and wanted to seize the legendary secret treasure, but he was struck by the cruelty of reality before he even went to sea. Not long after I set sail on my boat, I was robbed. Not only was my money robbed, but my boat was also robbed. Fortunately, his life was saved. In the end, I had no choice but to give up this dream, stay in this small town, and open a shop to make a living. Some people's faces changed when they heard this, and they didn't believe it at all. What are you talking about, old guy? Isn't One Piece Roger already publicly executed by Marine? How could he come back to life again? This is impossible. They don't believe it at all. The execution of One Piece Roger is a recognized fact in the sea. Marine, even if it is a world government, will it deceive the world? Will there be a fake execution? Absolutely impossible. Marine is the mortal enemy of pirates, and being able to execute One Piece is a huge blow to pirates. Is very meaningful. That's why he chose to be executed in Roger Town, which is Roger's hometown. Executing Roger meant the beginning and the end. But another man analyzed it. That Marine, I know his identity, is the Marine hero Garp. Who else can fight fiercely with him like this besides One Piece Roger? The four red-haired sea emperors today, Shanks, naturally have red hair. The Big Mom of the Big Mom pirates is a woman. Whitebeard pirates, Whitebeard's beard is white. As for Kaido of the Beast Pirates, I heard that he is a ghost and has a huge body. The others looked at each other in shock after hearing this. This man has a point. If the man in the red coat isn't one of the current 4 emperors, then who else but Roger can take on marine hero Garp? Coupled with what the old man said before, they all started to believe it. I felt frightened in my heart. Although they are proud that such a big man has appeared in their hometown, they would be horrified if they were alive. This is a very dangerous person. He is One Piece, a more powerful and ferocious existence than the 4 emperors. God knows what he will do. At this moment, a man dressed as a red-nosed clown hiding in the corner was full of excitement. It was really the captain who had come back to life. He was Captain Buggy, who was defeated by Luffy, and wanted to ambush the Straw Hat Pirates in Rogue Town to take revenge on them. I didn't expect to see such a scene. Someone could actually summon the long-dead Captain Roger. It was really amazing. At the same time, he also felt a little angry that someone dared to fool Captain Roger. I want to step forward to stop him, but I know my own strength. There's no way to stop it. Standing on a roof was a man wearing a dark green coat, covering his head with a look of horror on his face. There is an obvious red scar on his face. I didn't expect that this time when I returned to the East China Sea, I would encounter such a strange thing. A truly remarkable person has appeared in the East China Sea. The long-haired boy wearing a kimono, and the little blonde girl wearing a green vest. Each one has weirder abilities than the last. I also heard that his father was such a terrorist force. Never heard of it. I must catch up and get to know each other. It may be of great help to the cause of the Revolutionary Army, overthrowing the rule of the world government celestial dragons and establishing an equal world. Thinking of this, his body turned into a breeze and flew towards the port. An hour later, the battle between Roger and Garp ended. It was not that Garp defeated Roger. Instead, Roger turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. Naturally, he was summoned back by Orochimaru using necromancy. At this moment, the Rogue Town area around the two of them had been reduced to ruins. This was even if Roger didn't use dodge. After all, Orochimaru really didn't want to kill Garp. He just ordered him to stop this person so that they could leave easily. At this moment, Garp's clothes were already in tatters, and there were multiple wounds exposed all over his body. Of course, these could not kill him. Staring blankly at the place where Roger disappeared, this guy suddenly disappeared again just as he appeared. But he was also glad that Roger had disappeared, otherwise the entire town of Roger would have been destroyed. He would not deliberately destroy town buildings, but Roger had no scruples at all, also because he was controlled by others. I am not sure that I can completely kill Roger. Even if his body is broken, he can slowly recover and continue fighting. In the end, his physical strength was obviously insufficient, but this guy's momentum was still the same as at the beginning. She doesn't look tired at all. This is totally inconsistent with common sense. So Garp can conclude that the summoned Roger really has physical strength that will not be exhausted. Immortal body, inexhaustible physical strength. It was so terrifying, even more difficult to deal with than Roger alive. At this moment, his heart was in a mess. No way, Roger was manipulated to reappear in the sea. This sea will definitely be in chaos. Of course, what is even more terrifying is the person who can do this. Can't think anymore. Thinking was not something he was good at. After cleaning the battlefield, report it to the Warring States period. Maybe he knows what to do. By this time, Nami had already left for an hour with everyone in his boat. Rogue Town is no longer visible behind him, and is surrounded by the sea. Those Marines should never be able to catch up again, and of course it's impossible to catch up. The next step is to enter the Grand Channel through the Upside Down Mountain, and then enter the Windless Zone to reach the island where the Minato family is located. At this moment Orochimaru was very satisfied. Although there was a big fuss, the harvest was definitely huge. One Piece Roger, who can rival the marine hero, became his puppet. Standing on his own deck now, he naturally has to use necromancy to summon him back. Roger was also surprised at this moment. He was originally fighting with Garp, but now he appeared in this place. Surrounded by the sea, Rogue Town has long since disappeared, obviously it is far out to sea. Looking at the long-haired boy, his expression was extremely solemn. What on earth do you want to do by summoning me? And what kind of devil fruit ability do you have? He felt very aggrieved. As One Piece, Roger was manipulated after his death. He was really angry. Orochimaru did not answer his words, but formed a seal with his hands, and then Roger's eyes closed, completely unconscious. Everyone else looked surprised. One Piece suddenly appeared on the boat. Just like in Roger Town, Roger's coffin suddenly appeared. This is somewhat similar to Minato's teleportation ability, but not quite the same. At this moment, a small boat quickly caught up with a man wearing a dark green coat. Nami saw it and said cautiously, "There's a small boat approaching quickly." Several other people turned their heads to the rear. Someone is really catching up. The boat quickly caught up, maintaining the same speed as the boat controlled by Nami. Naturally, he saw Roger standing on the deck, and he couldn't help but be surprised that he actually appeared here. He had obviously fought with the old man before, and it seemed to have some kind of special ability, but this was not surprising. After all, he had seen Roger resurrected with his own eyes. It is not simply controlling the corpse, but resurrecting Roger with consciousness and memory. Orochimaru looked at this guy with sinister eyes. He didn't expect that when Roger reappeared in the sea, someone with bad intentions would come so soon. Long noticed the young man's sinister gaze and quickly explained. "I'm a revolutionary dragon. I don't feel bad about coming here. Can I pay a visit to your father?" From what these two people said, they learned that they also had a figure called their father. It stands to reason that his father should be very strong. If he were not strong, he would not be able to give birth to such a child. Of course, maybe their father is weak, but it is also very good to visit his father to recruit these two talents to join the Revolutionary Army. With such ability and combat power, they can become the pillars of the Revolutionary Army. Whether it's his ability to teleport or control Roger, who has peak strength, he is a very powerful ability. These two people already have the qualifications to be the top powerhouses in this sea, especially Orochimaru, who has completely become the top powerhouse in this sea. If you can control Roger, how many people are Roger's opponents? Orochimaru narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little depressed and a little angry. This guy Minato revealed the word, father, and was really discovered by someone who was interested. I was thinking about whether to kill this person. Long also felt the danger, and the young man looked like he was about to take action. This young man is really difficult to get along with. His own abilities are not low, and there is also a controlled Roger on the ship. Roger has the same terrifying fighting power as the old man. Besides, I am not here to provoke. Reiterated again. I didn't mean any harm. At this time Minato asked at the beginning. What is the Revolutionary Army? She had never heard her brother say that. Nami's face was full of surprise at this time. The Revolutionary Army is a criminal organization that wants to overthrow the world government. Its leader Long is a very terrifying criminal, with a bounty of up to 5 billion belly. Dragon grinned. It seems that you know my identity. However, the purpose of the Revolutionary Army is not just to overthrow the rule of the world government, but to overthrow the rule of the Tianlong people and build a new world where everyone is equal and can live in harmony. Quote. Now even Nokigao was shocked. You actually want to overthrow the rule of the celestial dragons. They are the nobles of the world. The name of the celestial dragon is known to ordinary people like her. The Tianlong people are the most noble people in the world. Anyone who contradicts them may be executed. No one dares to care about them. They are the most powerful people in the sea. Even Marine has to protect them. The dragon was dismissive. What kind of nobles are they? They are villains who bully others at will and turn others into slaves. They are much more hateful than pirates. He used to be a Marine, but later found that dealing with pirates would not change the world at all. Only by dealing with the real source of evil, the world government and the celestial dragons, can the world be changed. Now even Minato was interested. Overthrow the rule of the celestial dragons. She knew that these people were indeed very hateful, and her father didn't like them either. Brother Snake, I think this is a bit interesting. If the dragon has a smile on his face and feels interesting, that's a good start. I wonder if the two of you are willing to join the Revolutionary Army, work together to overthrow the world government, the rule of the celestial dragons, and establish a world where everyone is equal. Minato had an idea. Brother Snake, what do you think? Do you want to join? Orochimaru didn't say anything. Nami had the impulsive idea to block Shisui's door first. Minato was so easily bewitched and he immediately objected. Minato, no, overthrowing the celestial dragons is a very dangerous act. World government is a giant that has ruled the world for 800 years. He has powerful combat powers like marine and even unknown combat powers under his command. Although I don't know the specifics, there must be some. It is an existence that even One Piece cannot shake. Otherwise, how could it be publicly executed? You're going to be in danger. Minato looked at Sister Nami, nodded. You're right, but if my father knows the truth, everything will be fine. Furthermore, it will be completely successful if I ask a few of my brothers to join together. Her father must be invincible, and any world government will be destroyed if he takes action, and her brothers are more powerful than herself and Brother Snake. If they are willing to take action, they will definitely not encounter any danger. At most, there is only a small risk, you just need to be careful. Long was surprised. In the eyes of this little girl, is her father such a powerful being? This should be true, after all, the little girl is so strong. What surprised him was that she had other brothers who were so powerful. This father must be so good at giving birth. The long-haired boy's abilities are terrifying enough, but I can't imagine how strong his brother is. This is much more powerful than his own son, Straw Hat Luffy. His son is none other than Straw Hat Luffy, and he wanted to take a look at him when he came back this time. Unexpectedly, he also went to sea to become a pirate, so he naturally did not stop him. Nothing can stop a boy from going out to sea to find his dream. After all, he himself is fighting for his dream. Now that I know this information, I feel that this family must win over. Not only is his father powerful, but his children are also very powerful. The orange-haired woman was right. The power of the world government is too great. Marine alone is very powerful, and there are still many powerful people behind it. The current revolutionary army is in great need of combat power. He said with a pleading tone. Please let me pay a visit to your father. Orochimaru said coldly. Father doesn't want others to disturb him, so just leave. Otherwise. Isn't this guy's purpose to invite his family to be the opponent's thugs? He even wanted to win over his father. Are you kidding me? How could their family become someone else's thugs? Although the other party's idea of creating an equal world seems very great. But what does this have to do with their family? There is no need for them to do such a thankless job. In his eyes, as long as the brothers and sisters in the family take action, they can already take over the entire world, and this is without his father taking action. If my father takes action, he can quickly take over the world by using violent means and killing those who resist. There is no need to join any revolutionary army and help others complete other people's ideas. Instead of that, why not take over the world for yourself? Minato said quickly after hearing this. Brother Snake, don't do anything. You'd better tell your father about this. Maybe he will agree. Creating an equal world feels very good. Long had a headache. This long-haired boy was very difficult to get along with. Fortunately, this little girl was very nice and might have some fun. Orochimaru's face was calm, but the younger sister was still too naive. But just do as she says. Okay, I will talk to my father about this. He could feel that this man was not simple. After all, there was a reward of 5 billion belly. I was afraid that even with One Piece Roger in hand, he would not be able to kill him. Long agreed immediately. Good. Then I'm waiting for your news. If you have any ideas, please contact Koshiro in Shimotsuki village. He will naturally have a way to inform me. If you can pass on the news of the meeting, you have achieved great results. Let's wait for the meeting to convince you about the rest. Kuina asked with a puzzled look on her face. Are you my father's friend? Or is my father also a revolutionary soldier? Long was stunned for a moment. Father. Suddenly his eyes widened. Looking at Kuina like this, it seems like she has met her several times before. A long time has passed. My memory is a bit unclear, so I never recognized it before. Koshiro is not a revolutionary soldier, he is just an important friend of mine. You are not Koshiro's daughter, are you? Are you also being controlled? His face was frozen, and he was angry, and he said coldly. It is not a good behavior to manipulate the dead at will. Naturally, he has no objection to the opponent controlling One Piece. One Piece can also be used as a huge combat power, but what is controlling Kuina? She is the daughter of her best friend, and she has no fighting ability. In his eyes, this was quite excessive. Since she was the daughter of an old friend, Long even wanted to let the boy untie Kuina. Ji Lina waved her hands and said, I have not been manipulated and can move freely. I will go to the family island to get a true resurrection. Orochimaru shouted immediately. Okay, stop talking. Kuina immediately stopped talking. It seemed that the real resurrection could not be revealed. He was talking too much and shouldn't offend him. After all, his resurrection depended on his father. Long's face was frozen, and his heart was rolling like ocean waves. Kuina just said true resurrection. He also saw the scene where Roger was hit by the old man and his body was shattered. The body breaks into pieces of matter and then reassembles. This is of course not a true resurrection. The true resurrection involves flesh and blood. Could this boy's father even do such a thing? It was impossible not to be shocked in his heart. He found that he still underestimated this family. Not only is he very powerful in combat, he even has magical abilities. However, the young man looked wary, and it seemed that he could not continue to investigate further. It is not a good thing to have a gap with such a terrifying force. Every force has its own secrets. It was time for him to leave and rush back to his Revolutionary Army base. Everyone, I'll take my leave then. After saying that, he used his Devil Fruit ability to control the boat and left quickly. He still couldn't hide his excitement and nervousness. I hope his father can choose to cooperate with him. If they can cooperate, it will definitely be of great help to the cause of the Revolutionary Army, and even be a decisive force. Maybe he doesn't have to develop his strength slowly like he does now. After the dragon left, Nami drove the boat towards Upside Down Mountain. I went upstream and then downstream, successfully passing Upside Down Mountain, passing Twin Heads, and bypassing a large whale there. That's a really scary whale. Its body is extremely huge. Nami was extremely surprised. Is this a creature on the Grand Line? Such a Poseidon is much larger than the Poseidon in the East China Sea. Then continued towards the Grand Waterway. At this time, Dasky, who was tightly bound, woke up, opened his eyes, and saw the blue sky. Looking around, I saw that I was already on the sea. I was confused, what was going on? I remember feeling a terrifying shock in my brain before, and I suddenly lost consciousness. After seeing the little blonde girl and the terrifying boy who resurrected Roger. I still don't know what happened, I was kidnapped. I don't know what the situation is like in Rog Town now, but what I should worry about most now is myself. Thinking of the scary long-haired boy staring at me before, my body felt chilly. What on earth did this guy want to do to me? Although he was scared, he still asked. You guy, why did you arrest me? Let me go quickly. Now she no longer wants to catch these guys, she doesn't have the ability. If they can appear here, it means that Marine Hero Garp cannot catch them. This is normal, after all, these scary guys even resurrected One Piece Roger. Orochimaru looked at her with a smile on his face. Of course I will give you as a gift to my father and become my father's concubine. After hearing this, Dasky's face suddenly turned pale and she immediately refused. No, I don't want it. She has just grown up, how can she marry a man and become a concubine? I didn't expect this guy to have such an idea for me. These people are really criminals. If he resurrected Roger and disrupted the world, he must be a criminal, and now he wants to kidnap himself. Just like a human trafficker. Orochimaru looked indifferent and waved his hand. It's not up to you. Now you are my prisoner, and the power of disposal is in my hands. Dasky looked ashen, did she really want to be his father's concubine? Minato on the side was puzzled. It should be an honor for you to marry my father. My father is a very powerful man, and he can give birth to powerful children like us. You can definitely add younger siblings to my family. The older siblings more or less inherited their father's abilities. These abilities are more magical and powerful than most Devil Fruit abilities in this world. Dasky was completely frightened when she heard it. Is this going to give birth to a child? This is even more terrifying. Is she going to have a baby at such a young age? Wouldn't he be like a civilian kidnapped by pirates, whose body would be trampled on? No, absolutely not. His body was shaking. As for what the other party said about giving birth to capable children, this had no motivation at all for her. She didn't want to be forced to give birth to a child. Even if she gave birth to a child, she had to do it voluntarily. These two guys were really devils. They actually had such bad intentions. Orochimaru looked at the noisy woman, took out the tape from his sleeves, and taped it directly on his mouth. It was much quieter now. Nami and Nokigao watched this scene helplessly. In fact, they don't really like Orochimaru doing such a thing. As a woman, they naturally know that women don't like to be forced. But this was Marine's initiative, so this Marine was only to blame. Besides, they probably have no way to stop it verbally. There is no such ability. And they are also glad that they are willing, not only to resurrect their mother, Belmir. In their eyes, a man who can give birth to such a powerful child must be a very good spouse. There is no mother who does not want her children to become talented. At this moment in Rog Town, during the previous battle with Roger, Garp carefully stood in front of the unconscious Marines to prevent them from being harmed. Now they woke up one after another and began to clean up the battlefield. Now Rog Town is a mess. Garp decided to report this matter to Sengoku. Now it is true that I have lost all my mood. But once I returned to Donghai, something terrible happened, which made me feel like I was dreaming. When he came to a deserted place, he sat down cross-legged and dialed the Sengoku phone number. Soon, the other end of the phone was connected, and Sengoku from Marine Headquarters asked, "Garp, why are you in the mood to call me? Did you catch that little girl? The little girl who defeated Eren is a talented person." Garp replied helplessly. "I met him, but I didn't catch him." Sengoku asked in surprise. "Are you kidding? You can't catch me with your ability, so don't you still want to catch me?" This old friend is all one-minded. It is true that the little girl did not make a mistake and he did not arrest her, or did he not impress Garp by promising enough senbei? Garp replied helplessly. What happened to the little blonde girl is no longer important. What is important is her brother, an even more terrifying boy. He actually resurrected Roger. Waring States on the other end of the phone was stunned after hearing this. He didn't understand what it meant and asked, "Garp, are you kidding me? Roger's body has turned to ashes, how can he be resurrected?" It is true that there are devil fruit abilities in the sea that can use the corpses of the dead, just like Moonlight Moria in Shichibukai can use corpses, but Moonlight Moria definitely cannot control the corpse that turns to ashes. Or are there other terrifying devil fruit abilities? Impossible. He had never heard that when he became a Marine Fleet Admiral and came into contact with the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia, he should not have the ability to use ashes. The disposal of Roger's body was personally handled by the world government, and they felt that there was no problem in handling it this way. Therefore, it is impossible for Roger to be resurrected in this world. Any devil fruit ability should prevent Roger from being resurrected and turned into ashes. Garp's tone was low. I saw this with my own eyes, and I don't know what kind of ability it is. The most terrifying thing is that these two siblings may have a mysterious family, and their father is even more terrifying. Waring State's mind on the other end of the phone went blank. What's this all about? The scary boy resurrected Roger, and now an even more terrifying family has appeared. Why hasn't he heard of a family with this ability? After Sengoku received the information sent back by Garp, his mind went blank and he thought briefly. What kind of family is this mysterious family? There are indeed powerful families on the sea. For example, North Blue's Vinsmoke family and the Big Mom Pirates are essentially a big family. But after thinking about it for a long time, I never thought that a family with the ability to resurrect could be a hidden family. That would be a bit bad. Marine has never had any news about this, which shows that this family has hidden deep enough. His heart was in a mess. Think back to past information. But nothing suspicious was found. Is this guy Garp kidding? But he would never make such a joke. Roger is really resurrected, maybe there are forces behind the scenes with a big plan. The top priority now is to block the news of Roger's resurrection and let such news leak into the sea. I don't know how it will boil. That's One Piece Roger. How many people want to find him and seize the legendary secret treasure? Furthermore, he was also afraid that One Piece Roger would make a comeback. In that case, the hard-won balance of the sea would be destroyed again. The power of pirates will undoubtedly increase, overwhelming Marine, and the world will once again be plunged into turmoil. He shouted immediately. Garp, you guy has blocked the message, right? Garp was stunned. By the way, why didn't he think of blocking the news? He could only say tremblingly. This is not the case. I think the news may have spread to the sea. Rog Town is a prosperous town. It was crowded with people when I came here, but now there are only a few people left. Who knows where the others have gone? It is very likely that someone has already gone to sea with such news. Seng Guo's face turned dark. This guy Garp was really careless in what he did. Can such news not be blocked? Sighed deeply. It was too much to ask of this careless old fellow. Forget it, now is not the time to be angry. Then you hurry back to Marine headquarters and report the situation in detail. In addition, prepare for the coming storm. The news of Roger's resurrection will definitely cause a huge commotion if it spreads to the sea. At the same time, he also had a bad feeling in his heart, that is, the world government might question him. After all, this incident happened in Rogue Town, which is managed by Marine, and it actually resurrected Rogue. Garp was stunned for a moment. Did he have to go back to Marine headquarters just after arriving in Donghai? By the way, where is this guy Luffy? Looking around, he was no longer there, actually running away. An unknown fire surged in my heart. This brat actually went to sea to become a pirate. But it's no longer time to worry about this guy, we have to go back to Marine headquarters. To make a timely response, he always felt that something terrible was about to happen. Roger has been resurrected, can it still be scary? On the other side, Nami continued to drive the boat on the Great Channel, where the astronomical phenomena and climate changed drastically. Nami was very excited and asked Orochimaru. Orochimaru, how long until we arrive? According to what was said before, one should advance on the Great Channel and then enter the windless zone to reach his family. Orochimaru said slowly. After passing the Whiskey Peak, then head towards the windless zone in the northwest, and then go straight ahead to reach our family island. Nami nodded. Okay, it looks like it's not that far away. Nuo Chigao looked expectant. Once there, you can resurrect his mother Belmol. I don't know if he will accept me, maybe it's just my wishful thinking. She felt that her beauty was not as good as Nami, but Nami should be fine. Nami's skin is much fairer than mine and plumper. Of course, judging from Nami's appearance, she has no objection to such a thing. Like myself, I have fallen in love with this magical man. A child who could give birth to children with strange abilities like Minato and Orochimaru. Kuina was also extremely excited that she could truly be resurrected and continue her agreement with Zoro. After he goes back, his father will definitely be very happy to see him. Minato also had a happy face, he had had enough fun this time. I haven't seen my father and mother for a long time, and I miss them a little. The only unhappy people on this ship are probably Orochimaru and Tashi. Daisuke was a little scared and a little angry. It's terrible that she has to become a man's concubine and even have a child. She is really unlucky. Orochimaru was also worried. My father would be very angry if he knew that he and others got into trouble. I never thought of hiding it from my father, and I couldn't hide it. Originally, after resurrecting One Piece Roger, he could secretly take him away without anyone noticing. If Garp hadn't appeared, the other Marines wouldn't be worth mentioning. Roger would have been able to defeat those Marines without the help of the resurrected Roger. I originally thought that by resurrecting Kuina this time and making my father happy, I could get Mangekyo Sharingan. Even if I have a powerful puppet like Roger, I still long for it when faced with such magical eyes. Those are really a pair of eyes that make people yearn for them. Those are eyes with special patterned pupils, which are extremely intimidating just by looking at them. I don't know if bringing a female Marine back will be enough to calm my father's anger. It feels like it's not safe enough. It would be nice if I could bring a few more with me. Like Minato, he brought two. At this moment, a sea ship came in front. There is a man and a woman on it. Orochimaru was looking forward to it, hoping that the woman in front of him was a pretty beauty. Wouldn't it be safe enough to bring another one back to his father? There's even a chance to get a Mangekyo Sharingan. Apart from that, there is probably no other way to make his father happy. After a while the two ships passed each other. Orochimaru saw two people standing on the deck opposite, one of whom was a man, wearing a shoddy crown and two strange beards. The other one has a high ponytail, blue hair, and a coat. The figure alone is good, and she is very slender, but the face is not good. It is too thin and not good looking, and the dress is a bit strange. This feeling is undoubtedly a very negative feeling. Shaked his head. What a terrible woman. If such a woman was brought back to her father, not only it would make him happy, but it would definitely make him angry. He sighed deeply. The two people on the other ship were also observing the passing ship, wanting to see if the people on it were pirates. If it is a pirate, let it into Whiskey Peak and then gather everyone's strength to kill it. Yes, they are members of Baroque Studio. The man is Mr. Nine and the woman is Miss Wednesday. But what surprised them was that the long-haired boy on the opposite boat said such insulting words, which made both of them stunned. Mr. Nine couldn't help but look at his partner Miss Wednesday. Although he is not very good looking, he is not bad in appearance. This boy's vision is too high. Miss Wednesday looked angry. Actually calling her bad. There is only one woman on this ship. Doesn't this mean who she is? She was originally Vivi, the princess of the kingdom of Alabasta. The undercover agent is in the Baroque Studio and wants to investigate the mastermind behind the Baroque Studio who incited people to rebel in the country of Alabasta. She is a princess, not to mention the most beautiful woman on the sea, but she is definitely not a bad person, even if she is dressed like this. She is definitely not a bad woman. Of course, I dress like this to protect myself and prevent outsiders from recognizing my identity. At this time, the two ships were completely separated. Miss still looked angry on Wednesday. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Unforgivable. To actually call her bad is the biggest insult. No woman doesn't care about her appearance. Mr. Nine on the side said comfortingly. My partner, you are by no means a bad person, you are a beauty. I'm going to turn the boat back and teach them a lesson for you. Then he quickly controlled the rudder. Under his control, the ship turned 180 degrees. Then quickly catch up with the boat in front. Miss Wednesday said a little embarrassed. Is this okay? We still have a mission. This is no ordinary mission. Their mission is to go to Twin Capes to hunt down the whale named Laboon to provide food for Whiskey Town. And this is a task given by Baroque Studio. If you don't complete the task, you will be executed. Even if the time limit is exceeded, if you don't complete it, you will be executed as a traitor. The punishment can be said to be quite severe. Mr. Nine said indifferently. Don't worry, it's not a problem. There were only 3 women and 3 children on the small boat just now. There's nothing to be afraid of. It only takes a few minutes to beat them up. This naughty boy dares to insult my companions, how can I let him go so easily? Miss Wednesday looked grateful. You are indeed my good partner. In fact, she really wanted to beat that guy up. What are these eyes for? She is obviously naturally beautiful, right? Otherwise, her anger cannot be eliminated. Soon under the control of Mr. Nine, the ship quickly caught up with the ship in front, and then he quickly turned the rudder and landed in front of the ship. Nami looked at the ship and hurriedly maneuvered the pirate ship to a stop. He stopped narrowly, avoided the impact, and said with an angry look on his face. What do you guys want? Almost hit. That was the result of the ship's destruction. That would add huge trouble. This is a great waterway, and God knows if falling into the water would attract the attention of Poseidons. Mr. Nine and Miss jumped directly onto the boat deck on Wednesday. Mr. Nine asked. You asked me why this long-haired naughty kid actually dared to insult my companion as a bad woman. She is obviously a great beauty. Nami looked at this frivolously dressed woman. She had a good figure and good skin, but this high ponytail was really a bad hairstyle, which completely added negative points to herself. Maybe if she changed her hairstyle, she would be a really nice woman. Orochimaru was very upset at the moment. Seeing these two people messing with him, he didn't have any temper at all. A direct threat. Get off the boat, or we will throw you into the sea to feed the fish. Mr. Nine became even more angry after hearing this. Okay, a naughty kid actually dares to be so arrogant on the Grand Waterway. It seems that I must teach you a lesson today. He took out 2 silver iron rods directly from his clothes, intending to attack them. Miss warned on Wednesday. Just teach him a lesson. Mr. Nine responded with a smile. Okay. Nami was speechless. It was not good to provoke anyone, but this person. Orochimaru himself is also very strong. Even Garp's serious punch did not cause any damage. And the man with the crown in front looks like a miscellaneous soldier. How could he be his opponent? Isn't this just asking for trouble? And that's exactly what happened. He brandished the iron rod and attacked Orochimaru. The speed he thought was fast was too slow in Orochimaru's eyes, and he directly grasped the waving silver iron rod with both hands. Then he stretched out his foot and kicked him in the abdomen, kicking him directly back to his ship, smashing holes in the ship's mast and cabin. This shows the power of this kick. He lost consciousness on the spot. After doing all this, Orochimaru was not satisfied, but turned to look at Miss Wednesday. This was provoked by someone else, Gate of Pain. As for saying it was bad, he didn't think he was wrong. Compared with the 3 women on the boat, such a woman was really bad. There is no way to give it as a gift to my father. At this moment, Miss Wednesday, also known as Princess Vivi, is frightened. Is she still a teenager? It's too scary. Mr. Nine is not that powerful, but he is not bad either. After all, he has been on the Grand Channel for so many years. She is stronger than herself. After all, she is a princess and her fighting power is not strong. And looking at the other person like this, staring at him fiercely, like a lion majesty. She felt fear, and this time she kicked a hard board, and quickly apologized and begged for mercy. Sorry, I'm leaving now. He turned around hurriedly and wanted to jump back to his ship. But Orochimaru was not willing to let her go. He summoned a snake from his cuffs and quickly flew towards the woman, tying her up tightly. I just couldn't move anymore. He even lost his balance and lay on his back on the deck. Orochimaru came closer to see him like this. The appearance is really too bad to be my father's concubine or a gift to my father. Minato came over to take a look at this time. It is indeed not as good looking as Sister Nami. If I take her back, my father will be unhappy. Brother Snake, throw her back into the boat. Vivi was dumbfounded that she actually wanted to become a concubine, and she was shocked. Fortunately, I am dressed like this. Otherwise, wouldn't it be terrible if they could see his true appearance? She doesn't want to become her father's concubine, she has important things to do. That is to bring the news back to the kingdom that the mastermind behind the Baroque studio is Shichibukai Clodar. Of course Orochimaru agreed with Minato's words, so he walked over and threw the woman on the ground back to his ship. Just take one back with you this time, it's better than none. Princess Vivi looked horrified at the rough treatment she was about to receive. She might have been thrown back on her ship like Mr. Nine, but she was actually very happy inside. That's fine, she doesn't want to become her father's concubine. Are you kidding? She is a princess after all. At this moment, Nami rushed over. Wait a moment. Vivi is a little strange, what does this orange-haired woman want to do? Orochimaru is also puzzled, what is this woman going to do? But the movement still stopped. Nami bent down and squatted on the ground, took off the hairband on Princess Vivi's head, and her blue hair immediately spread to both sides. Nami herself was surprised to see such a woman. This temperament is completely different, there is a noble temperament, and the appearance is needless to say. Such appearance is not inferior to mine. Seeing such an appearance, Orochimaru's depression immediately disappeared. This is really interesting. Just by taking off the hair, she becomes a very elegant beauty. If you give such a gift to your father, he will definitely be happy. Minato was also surprised. Brother Snake, she seems to be very good looking. Orochimaru nodded. Yes, you can take it back now. This person is no worse than the 2 women Minato brought back. The temperament I had just now was really too down, maybe I was dressing up like this on purpose. But it doesn't matter, it's already in his hands anyway. Minato said with a smile. So you can take 2 back with you. Vivi was completely dumbfounded. She didn't expect that the other party would untie her hair and see her true appearance. She seemed to have made up her mind to take her back, and she roared angrily. No, I don't want to become your father's concubine. She is a princess of a country and has an even more important mission. Orochimaru said nonchalantly. That's not up to you. He took out the tape directly from the cuffs and sealed her mouth, which silenced her. Vivi felt panicked and blamed herself for not being able to hold back her temper and offending people she shouldn't have. What should we do now? We finally found the truth about the mastermind behind the scenes, but they were caught before they could be sent back. Then the country would be completely hopeless. Alabasta country has now fallen into a serious civil war. The contradiction is very sharp. If the truth is not brought back, this explosive barrel may be detonated at any time and a very terrifying war will occur. I forced myself to calm down. If I panicked here, I would really be doomed. Dasky, who was also gagged and tightly bound on the boat, was also angry in her heart. What an evil person. If you catch another beautiful woman, you will send it to her father. What kind of cruel father could raise such cruel brothers and sisters? Nami stood up at this time and said with a smile. Orochimaru, I must have done you a big favor this time, right? Orochimaru nodded. Yes, it did help him a lot. I almost missed such a good gift from my father, and I would really regret it. Now that I have brought two such good women back, my father will definitely be very happy. Looking at Nami's expression at this moment, I knew that I wanted something. I wonder what you want. Nami smiled and made her request. Can I ask Roger where the legendary secret treasure is? Although Roger is not truly resurrected, there is no doubt that he carries memories and emotions from his lifetime. The news about the big secret treasure was all released by Roger, he must know it. Minato was also interested. It's a big secret treasure. There must be a lot of gold and silver in it. Stars appeared in Nami's eyes. The largest treasure house in the world, perhaps containing countless treasures of gold and silver. She still likes money very much, it's glittering. Minato also looked at Brother Snake. Brother Snake, just summon Roger to come out and ask. She also became interested. Kuina and Nokigao were also interested. Naturally, they had heard of the world-shaking news spread by Roger during his execution. It was the great secret treasure that attracted countless people to go to sea and ushered in the era of great pirates. As Nami said, there must be mountains of treasure. Even Dasky pricked up his ears and listened. No one has found the legendary secret treasure. Could it be that she, a little marine, knows the news? I always feel that there is something outrageous. You must know that there are certainly people in Marine looking for it. But it was nowhere to be found. Princess Vivi was also stunned. What are these people talking about? Summon One Piece Roger. Isn't Roger already dead? Can he still be resurrected? Who are these people? Orochimaru nodded in agreement. Okay, as you wish. Nami helped him a lot. Although my father probably wouldn't care about big secret treasures and the like, money is of little use to him. In his eyes, if his father takes action, even the whole world can easily get it. What does money mean? He slapped the floor, thick fog suddenly appeared, and Roger in a red coat appeared. When he summoned it back before, he put it back into the sealed space again, of course on his family island. Vivi looked at this scene in horror. A person suddenly appeared. What kind of ability is this? Does this seem to be the legendary One Piece Roger? Isn't it really a trick? She still doesn't believe how people can be resurrected after death. Quietly watching what tricks these people are doing. Orochimaru formed the seal again, releasing the seal on his soul. Roger opened his eyes and started to move. Look at these people. I felt helpless, the feeling of being manipulated was really uncomfortable. Nami stared at Roger and asked sincerely. One Piece Roger, where is the legendary secret treasure buried? Roger looked down at her. Have you not found my treasure yet? If you want it, go find it yourself. I put everything there. There is no point in trying to obtain the great secret treasure through this method. The great secret treasure was the means he used to make Joy Boy appear in this world. Naturally, you won't tell others easily. Ancient weapon Pluton should have been born. In that case, the three major ancient weapons can assemble. In the era of great pirates that he started, this guy will definitely appear. The stone tablet on Lavdru records such a person who will appear in the future and change the world. I don't know if it's his son Ace. It's a pity that I didn't ask Garp about Ace's specific situation. Nami was very unhappy when she heard what Roger said. She was really so stingy. She asked looking at Orochimaru. Orochimaru, can you control him and make him say it? Orochimaru shook his head. I can't control the summoned soul, but my father can. Roger was shocked when he heard this. Can this man's father still control the dead soul? What kind of guy is he? Could he really be controlled? This is related to the fate of the entire world. Minato looked at Roger, equally dissatisfied. If you don't want to say it, then let your father control you to say it. Nami felt happy immediately. His father was so powerful that his good impression of him increased even more. Of course he wanted to marry his father, and now he could obtain a legendary secret treasure. It was a double happiness. It makes me happy to think that I have obtained the legendary secret treasure that so many people have been unable to obtain. Roger panicked. You can't do this. This is related to the fate of the entire world. Nami didn't quite understand and asked. Isn't this just treasure? Why is it related to the fate of the world? If you have a lot of money, you can only be carefree, live a worry-free life, and be in a happy mood. This has nothing to do with the fate of the world. Daisuke's ears stood up, feeling as if she had heard some great secret. Is the legendary secret treasure actually related to the fate of the world? She was extremely excited that a little marine could hear such a secret. It was never her turn to discover the great secret treasure. Vivi was also surprised. Is this the truth about the legendary secret treasure? Is this really One Piece Roger? But how could he suddenly come back to life? Incomprehensible. Who are these guys? Only by continuing to listen can you find out. Roger explained. When the great secret treasure appears, the world will undergo tremendous changes, and the world will become a complete sea. Nami, Nuao, and Daisuke Vivi were all stunned. Is this a joke? As we all know, the Red Continent and the Windless Zone divide the world into 4 seas: East China Sea, West Blue, North Blue, and South Blue. The Red Earth Continent and the Windless Zone hinder the communication between the 4 seas. Needless to say more about the Windless Zone. There is a huge Poseidon-like entrenchment, which is simply not something ordinary people can pass through. It really hinders communication. The Red Earth continent is very vast, even as high as 10,000 meters, and no one can cross it. The 4 seas can only be connected through the narrow passage of the upside-down mountain. Although there is a channel, there is no doubt that this seriously hinders communication. After all, this is just a waterway, and the sea is very vast. Only through here can we reach other seas, which undoubtedly adds a lot of distance. Daisuke thought it was impossible, but this was what One Piece Roger said himself, and he probably wouldn't lie to them. Assuming this is true, if they are to be connected together, the Red Earth continent will be destroyed. I couldn't help but feel shocked. Only by opening multiple channels can it be possible to truly connect the sea. Is it going to destroy the Red Earth continent? Even Vivi doesn't really believe it. As a princess, she once climbed to the holy land of Marie Joa. How can the sea be connected into one piece? If they were connected together, it would really destroy the Red Earth continent. But how could the Red Earth continent be destroyed? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Nami and Nogi also thought this was impossible. One Piece Roger, are you lying to us? Roger tilted his mouth and smiled. Who knows, maybe this world will have weapons that can destroy the Red Earth continent and connect the entire sea into one. That is of course the cooperation of the 3 ancient weapons, Poseidon, Uranus, and Pluton. When he found the great secret treasure back then, he knew the truth. This was the treasure left by Joy Boy. Of course there are a lot of gold and silver treasures, it's true. Nami couldn't help but be surprised. Is there really such a weapon in the world? That would be too terrifying. What kind of weapon is this? As Roger said, if the Red Earth continent is destroyed, the sea will really be connected. Nuao, Daisuke, and Vivi listened quietly. They also wanted to know what kind of weapon this was. Daisuke has naturally seen the majestic scene of the Red Earth continent. Even if it is 1,000 marine warships, it is absolutely impossible to destroy the Red Earth continent by bombing it together. At most, it only damages the surface. It is simply not something human beings can do to open a hole for the Red Earth continent to come out. She didn't expect that there was such an amazing secret behind the big secret treasure. If Roger hadn't said it himself, she would never have believed it. Vivi's expression completely changed at this moment. What this person said seems to make sense. Of course she knows the ancient weapon, which is a legendary weapon. Possessing extremely terrifying destructive power, if it were an ancient weapon, it would be possible to destroy the Red Earth continent. What is going on with these people? He is actually talking about such horrible things. Is this person really One Piece Roger? She had many questions in her heart, but it was a pity that her mouth was sealed. But Minato was not too surprised. Do you think you can destroy the Red Earth continent if you find the big secret treasure? It turns out that this is the treasure. It feels a bit boring. Roger frowned. This is the biggest secret in the sea. You are lucky enough to hear the truth from me here. Otherwise there is no way to know. Shouldn't we be shocked? When he first learned the truth, he was very shocked. Of course Dusky was shocked. I didn't expect that it was such a secret and that I had to tell Marine such news. If the terrifying weapon that can destroy the continent is mastered by pirates, the world will be over. Vivi was also shocked. This was indeed news that shocked the world. After the world was connected, it became a real world. Minato looked at his snake brother. Brother Snake, can father destroy the Red Earth continent? As soon as she said this, Roger looked at her dumbfounded. Stop joking, no matter how powerful your father is, can he be stronger than the three ancient weapons joining forces? This is impossible. Although this kid's talent is not as good as his son Ace's, his father may also be very strong. But destroying the vast Red Earth continent with a height of 10,000 meters is definitely a dream. After hearing Roger's words, Princess Vivi knew that she had guessed correctly. Just as she guessed, it turned out that it was really the ancient weapon that destroyed the Red Earth continent. It also has three major ancient weapons. This destructive power is truly astonishing. Now it is very possible to destroy the Red Earth continent. It seems that the legendary secret treasure actually hides such a secret. But how could this little blonde girl ask such a question? He actually thinks that his father can destroy the Red Earth continent with the power of a mortal. Is this something a human can do? He looks like he is only 5 or 6 years old, and he is still innocent, so he probably asked such an innocent question. Even Dasky, who kept her mouth shut, didn't believe that humans could do such a thing as destroying the Red Earth continent. Even if the three generals of Marine, Hero Garp, and Sengoku Fleet Admiral all go into battle, it is absolutely impossible to destroy the Red Earth continent. If it could do this kind of thing, then Marine would have calmed the sea long ago, and there would be no pirate 4 emperors. There will be no pirates left to wreak havoc in the world. So she thought it was absolutely impossible. Nami and Nachi were also shocked that Minato asked such a question. In fact, they didn't really believe it, even Minato's father. Anyone who can destroy the Red Earth continent is really a godlike existence. Even people who can destroy the world. But they also believed a little, because Minato's father could truly resurrect people. This is also very incredible. As far as they know, it is an ability called the Samsara Eye. I didn't tell them the details. We can only listen to what Orochimaru said. Orochimaru is a few years older than Minato and should have a deeper understanding of his father. Orochimaru also fell into deep thought after hearing his sister's words. It turns out that the great secret treasure has such a secret. That is to destroy the Red Earth continent. He had just passed through the Red Earth continent and knew how majestic and huge it was. It's many times bigger than the largest Poseidon class. He believed that even if he had the Samsara Eye, he might not be able to destroy the Red Earth continent. It's not that the Samsara Eye is not good, but I feel that my ability is not enough to destroy the Red Earth continent. One of the brothers in the family, Pain, inherited his father's reincarnation eye, but Orochimaru felt that Pain did not have such destructive power, so he answered truthfully. Maybe it's possible, maybe it's not possible. I haven't seen my father take action. What he said was indeed the truth. Although he admired his father very much and believed that his father was omnipotent, he had never seen anything like the destruction of the Red Earth continent. So naturally I'm not sure. After all, Pain's words are definitely impossible. Roger laughed. Such a vague answer must be impossible. Not even the legendary Joey Boy. He had to use 3 ancient weapons to accomplish this feat and turn the world into a huge paradise. Dasky also breathed a sigh of relief. That is, how could anyone be able to do this? And he is the father of such a cruel man. If this kind of thing could be done, wouldn't all the women around the world be robbed by these horrific human traffickers? This is really terrible. Minato was unhappy. Maybe it's not possible. How can you be sure? He is an invincible father. He can give birth to so many brothers and sisters, so why can't he? Roger asked with a smile. Is your father Joey Boy? It is recorded on the Ravdru stone tablet that Joy Boy will awake in the form of the sun god Nika. In his eyes, the Nika devil fruit ability, known as the sun god, and the ability to have the name of God, can really destroy the Red Earth continent. Then his father is Joey Boy, who has the ability called God, which is why he has such naive delusions. But even so, he didn't really believe it in his heart. Even if he was called a god, in the end he was just a mortal. It just meant that his devil fruit was powerful. He doesn't believe that the other party can be much stronger than himself and become one piece. He still has confidence in his own strength. Minato shook his head. That's not my father's name. Roger explained. It doesn't necessarily have to be this name, it's just a code name. Joy Boy will be resurrected in this world, and then execute the plan I just mentioned to create a world paradise. The separated sea cannot be considered a paradise. The mermaid princess Poseidon has grown up, and it's time for Joy Boy to return. I created the Great Pirate Age because I wanted it to be born in this era. Of course he wanted his son to find Love Road and become Joey Boy. After all, he is his son, so he must be as powerful as him. According to the news now learned from Garp, Ace has become the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates. You must know that the previous captain of the 2nd Division was Kazuki Oden, who abducted himself. He was a very powerful monster. This guy should have returned to his own country of Wano. Thinking of this, he lowered his head and begged. Please allow me to meet your father. As long as you see him, you will know whether he is Joey Boy and whether he is the man you have been looking forward to. This is his only wish besides Ace. Orochimaru was a little moved when he saw Roger like this. To be able to make a one-piece bow his head like this, it seems that this matter is very important to him. I also have a question in my heart, that is, whether my father is Joey Boy. Okay, I will report it to my father. It depends on whether he sees you. Roger could only agree. Good. If it is really Joey Boy, he will not ignore himself when he hears about his affairs. If not, maybe it's his son Ace, which would be great too. How could his son be an ordinary pirate? Before he died, he told Whitebeard all the news about the great secret treasure. That's why Whitebeard takes care of his son. On the one hand, it may be because Ace has good talent and wants to train him to become the next One Piece. On the other hand, it might be because of his interest. Whitebeard's interest is to have a son. Orochimaru forms a seal with his hands. Roger closed his eyes and disappeared into smoke. Dasky caught more crucial information, Joy Boy. People who change the future, people who build a world paradise. Why can't such a person be Marine? It's obvious that Marine is the guardian of this world. Princess Vivi was also shocked. Why were these people talking more and more strangely? Now a Joey Boy has been revealed, which seems to be real. If the father of these two people is Joey Boy, he is the one who wants to build a world paradise. So why are his two children so domineering? He actually kidnapped her and gave her as a gift to his father. People with such noble ideals should not be like this, nor should they raise such children. But she had new hope. Maybe she could escape. She hoped that the person was really a good person, otherwise she really wouldn't be able to escape. Even Roger can control these people, and now she believes it in her heart. How scary Roger is, that's much scarier than Shichibukai crocodile. The world outside is exploding at this moment. The news about Roger's resurrection and the battle with Garp has already spread throughout the sea. This kind of thing is enough to shock the world. This is not just text, there is even picture evidence. The picture in the newspaper showed what Roger looked like from a distance. Although it is not clear enough, Roger's appearance will certainly be recognized by anyone who has seen him. The one he fights against is none other than the hero Garp. Naturally, this was taken by a thoughtful person and then sold to World Economic News Morgans. Of course, Morgans immediately realized that this was excellent news, news that could stir up the entire sea, and make his newspaper sell like crazy. It even shocked this stagnant world. Such a news, he immediately ordered his newspaper to be distributed all over the world. It turned out to be just as he expected. Those who received the newspaper were all shocked. Especially some middle-aged people, they have naturally seen Roger's bounty portrait. Of course, there is also the scene of Roger's public execution, which was broadcast live. That's it, you can't go wrong. The execution scene was deeply imprinted in their minds. Not only was the news of the great secret treasure shocking the world, but the execution of the evil pirate One Piece Roger himself was enough to shock the world. But some people don't believe it. Death and resurrection, isn't this nonsense? When a person dies, there is nothing left. In their eyes, this is absolutely fabricated news. It is absolutely impossible for a person to be resurrected after death. This is against the laws of life. If One Piece Roger is really resurrected, wouldn't the sea be in a mess? Tokai Shimotsuki village, Koshiro wearing glasses was sitting cross-legged in the yard with an expressionless expression. Her face looked a little haggard. A few days ago, some thieves came and stole the ashes of her dead daughter Kuina. He was also tricked and allowed them to escape. He was extremely angry at the time, but when he took the boat out to sea, these guys had disappeared into the vast sea, and there was no way to catch them up. He was very angry and sad in his heart, and he still allowed his daughter to suffer such humiliation after his death. At this moment, a newspaper bird suddenly flew overhead and dropped a newspaper. Koshiro reluctantly threw a few coins into its arms, and then the news bird flew away. It's just a newspaper, not worth much. But if you refuse to pay, Newsbird will never come to deliver newspapers again. He reads newspapers not only to understand the world's affairs, but of course his identity is not simple, and it is also necessary to understand the major events happening in the world. Of course, it would be better if I could learn about the whereabouts of those evil thieves in the newspaper. I would go to sea to pursue them without hesitation. Before, I was just helpless. The sea was vast, where should I pursue it? Looking down at the newspaper, he was shocked by the headlines. One Piece Roger is resurrected and fights marine hero Garp. There are even a few pictures included. Even though his heart was full of sadness and anger, his face looked horrified at this moment. As an old man, how could he not know what Roger looked like? At that time, newspapers published the news that the Roger pirates had circled the world and officially became One Piece, and there was even news of their public execution. Is such a guy really resurrected? Are you sure it's not a joke? Looking carefully at the people in the newspaper, they were really the same as the ones I had seen before. Suddenly his eyes widened. He saw a little blonde girl in these pictures, her eyes full of anger. This guy is one of the culprits who kidnapped his daughter's ashes. Is this guy in Rog Town now? Suddenly he was a little stunned. The little black-haired girl in the newspaper attracted him very much. There is a red belt tied around the waist. There are also white clothes, which are exactly the same. How could he not recognize his daughter? But his daughter is obviously dead. How could there be two people so similar in the world? If there is a difference, the little girl in the newspaper is just a little less angry. His face was filled with disbelief. The previous anger had long since disappeared, replaced by doubt. He was very sure that he did not have a second daughter, and there were no two people so similar in the world. Not only did they look exactly the same, but they even had the same clothes. He thought carefully and suddenly remembered what the little blonde girl had said about resurrection. At that time, I simply did not believe such absurd words. How could such a thing happen in the world? But now this kind of thing is really happening in front of me. That person is definitely his daughter, there is no doubt about it. The probability that there are two such similar people in the world is almost zero. No matter how similar they are, there will still be some obvious differences, and as a father, he can easily spot them. If he couldn't even discover this, he wouldn't be able to become a great swordsman. His heart suddenly became excited. Could it be that this group of people resurrected his daughter? Kakuzu had tears streaming down his eyes. It was great to see Kuina alive again. He wanted to leave immediately to go to Rog Town to find his daughter. But he calmed down as soon as he got up. Now that he is rushing over, I'm afraid they have disappeared. Since he can resurrect his daughter, One Piece Roger can also be resurrected. Suddenly I thought, could it be that the resurrection of One Piece Roger was caused by these guys? It seems that they are no longer there, and they should also know that after resurrecting Roger, he will definitely become the target of marine and even the world government. That would definitely hide his traces. But where should I go to find them? The ocean is huge. However, he still had optimistic thoughts in his heart. If Kuina was resurrected, she would definitely want to go home. I'm afraid all I can do is wait. This is the best way. It's better than going to the sea to search blindly. Although he couldn't see his daughter right away, he still had a smile on his face. Nothing made him happier than this. By the way, Zoro would also be very happy if he accidentally discovered Kuina in the newspaper. Let's have a few drinks tonight. At this time, the Straw Hat Pirates, who were afraid of being caught and imprisoned by Garp, had already escaped to a safe sea area. In panic, they did not go directly to the Great Channel, but chose a direction and fled directly. At this time, they also received the newspaper delivered by the newspaper bird. Usopp took it and looked at it, his eyes showing horror. Is One Piece Gall Roger actually resurrected? Is it true? In Rog Town where they fled, could it be said that such a horrific thing happened in Rog Town after they left? After hearing this, Luffy came over with a look of surprise on his face. Ah, One Piece Roger is actually resurrected. Looking at the newspaper, there is actually my grandfather in it. It looks like he is fighting with his grandfather. Is this true? He has not forgotten his dream, which is to become One Piece. If One Piece is resurrected, of course we will beat him away and become the new One Piece. Usopp and Sanji were surprised. Luffy really dares to say that. But as crew members, they naturally hope that their captain can do it, and then they will be the crew of One Piece from now on. At this moment, Usopp's face was full of confusion. To be honest, Roger has been dead for more than 20 years. Even if he had the ability to be resurrected, he should have been resurrected long ago. How could he be resurrected only now? The newspaper said that someone will be resurrected. Is this another terrifying devil fruit ability? Luffy looked confused. Devil fruit ability. He himself has a rubber-like body that can stretch and expand. But his ability is not as magical as this. But Zoro knew that it was probably the brother who resurrected Kuina. At that time, the little blonde girl did not allow Kuina to reveal it to the outside world. Then you can't talk nonsense, this kind of thing is really amazing. Luffy is even more loud-mouthed and naive, and would reveal such secrets accidentally. On a deserted island in the Great Channel, a group of pirates were temporarily stationed here to rest. Deep in the jungle, a red-haired, one-armed man sat quietly with his head lowered, with a knife stuck on the ground in front of him. Dozens of other people sat quietly around him. Suddenly, a pirate ran into the jungle rashly and shouted tremblingly. Captain, Hawkeye is here. No wonder he was so surprised. This was the greatest swordsman in the world, and he was as good as his own captain in terms of reputation. His captain is, of course, the red-haired Shanks. The red-haired man handed the glass filled with wine to him. The pirate immediately picked it up and drank it. Immediately I felt that the heat had eased a lot. Even though his captain is one of the 4 emperors, he has no pretensions. On the contrary, he takes great care of his crew. The pirate continued to report, and suddenly he realized that a powerful aura appeared behind him. He turned around and saw that it was indeed Hawkeye. Withdrew knowingly. Since Hawkeye has come in person, he doesn't need to report it, the boss will handle it. The red-haired man looked up at this guy, and his hungover brain suddenly sobered up. I have never seen Hawkeye like this before. Hat, clothes all over were in tatters. It was so down and out. You must know that Hawkeye is different from him. He is the world's best swordsman and a proud guy. He would not allow himself to be in such a state of despair. This couldn't help but arouse his curiosity. Asked with a smile. Hawkeye, how did you end up like this? Is it a battle with a certain 4 emperors? Or a life-and-death fight? After asking, he felt something was not right. Didn't the other 4 emperors have such a big conflict with Hawkeye? This is the first half of the Great Channel, and the other 3-4 emperors should be in the second half, whereas the New World. Unless there is a life-and-death battle, there is no reason for Hawkeye to be in such a miserable state. Furthermore, these 3 people do not have such a big conflict with Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a guy who pursues the pinnacle of swordsmanship, not territory and wealth, and has no serious conflicts with those people. They won't easily offend Hawkeye either. At this time, other cadres looked sideways, and they were shocked by Hawkeye's desolate look. Everyone wants to know the reason. Eagle Eye sat down and said helplessly. When I returned to the Grand Channel from the East China Sea through the windless zone, I met a terrifying young man and was almost killed. Looking like this is already considered very lucky. He didn't lie. That terrifying sudden blow. Who would have thought that the other party could launch such a terrifying attack? That attack is no less powerful than four emperors' powerful blow. Even with Shanks. If I hadn't stopped him in time, I'm afraid it wouldn't have been the result of the clothes being torn. Now his body still feels cold. It was the first time that his life was in danger. In the past, even if he competed with the red-haired swordsman, neither party used their full strength. The red-haired man laughed loudly when he heard what he said. Hawkeye, are you kidding me? It is simply not something that a young man can do to put Hawkeye in such a miserable state. No matter how talented the young man is, in front of the world's best swordsman, it's just a matter of one blow. You must know that the man in front of him is a man whose swordsmanship is inferior to even his red hair. When it comes to geniuses, Hawkeye is one of the most powerful geniuses. What's more, the most powerful genius has become one of the top experts in the world. How can other young geniuses hurt him? Even the path he had high hopes for would be impossible to hurt Hawkeye. Luffy must have gone to sea. I wonder how he is doing now. The red-haired girl felt very good when she thought of this. Then the world would begin to change. Roger once asked him to witness the arrival of a new era. His arms were blocked on the new era. Other cadres didn't believe it either. How is this possible? Lachalu said, holding a big chicken drumstick in his hand. Hawkeye, it's impossible. Can a young man make you so miserable? Even though it was said by Hawkeye himself, he couldn't believe it. His own captain could make Hawkeye so miserable, but it would be a full-scale fight, a real life-and-death fight. Even though Hawkeye's swordsmanship is stronger, Shanks' Conqueror's domineering reaches the top level and his overall strength is stronger. It would be terrible if there was such a person. If a young man can make Hawkeye so miserable, it will be better when he grows up. By then, I'm afraid the four emperors combined won't be enough for him to fight. If you think about it carefully, there is no way such a terrible person could exist. Hawkeye sighed. It's normal for you not to believe it. In fact, I don't really want to believe it myself. Immediately, his expressions became serious. But this is no joke. There really is such a terrifying boy in the world. That boy's blow was probably as powerful as the four emperors' strongest blow. Everyone present was completely stunned. Hawkeye's serious expression showed that he was not joking at all. Besides, Hawkeye is not the kind of person who can joke, Lachalu said tremblingly. Is there really such a terrifying boy on the sea? Someone who can deliver the strongest blow of the four emperors, doesn't that mean that this guy has reached the level of the four emperors? Ben Beckman's face became serious. There is such a terrifying young man, do you know who he is? He is the vice-captain of the red-haired pirates, and his strength is comparable to that of the four emperors, but he is not young anymore. Now can be said to be his peak time. The red-haired man was also curious, so he filled a wine glass with wine and handed it to Hawkeye. Hawkeye picked it up and took a big sip, then spoke slowly. A young man with green tears in the corners of his eyes, wearing white clothes. What a terrifying opponent. This sea may not be as simple as I thought before. The redhead couldn't help but ask. Are you saying there is a secret superpower? Hawkeye nodded. After all, this is just a young man, and if you can cultivate such a terrifying young man, how terrifying will the power behind it be? It's hard to say. Yes, even if a boy gains powerful devil fruit abilities. But he doesn't have that kind of completely cold temperament. But as arrogant as a nouveau riche. But this young man, like himself, had no arrogance at all, or that was the pride in his bones. This can only be cultivated in big forces. The leaders of the red-haired pirates looked at each other in shock when they heard this. His analysis makes sense. Just this refreshed their understanding of the sea. Suddenly I felt a veil covering the sea. The red-haired pirates have traversed the sea for more than 10 years, but they actually have forces they don't understand. The red-haired man was shocked. Is there really such a terrifying force in the sea? If a young man possesses emperor-level strength, wouldn't the adult behind him be very terrifying? At least there is no problem in crushing them, the four emperors. His head suddenly hurt again. I don't know if this is good or bad. It feels like the world has changed, and the hard-fought balance of the sea may be broken. At this moment, a newspaper bird flew overhead and dropped a newspaper directly into Shanks' arms. Shanks took out a few coins and threw them into the newspaper bird. Then he glanced at the newspaper and was stunned for a moment. How come? How come the captain is in the newspaper? The captain had been dead for more than 20 years, so he wanted to see what the news was. Is there anything going on with Captain Roger now? But the more I read, the more frightened I became, with a look of surprise on my face, and I couldn't help but hold the newspaper tightly. When the other cadres looked at their captain like this, their faces darkened. This expression meant that something big was about to happen. He had never been so surprised before dueling with Hawkeye. Now they were also panicked. Something that could make the boss panic like this was certainly not a trivial matter. Ben Beckman asked immediately. Shanks, what's going on? Even Hawkeye looked sideways. Is there anything more shocking than what he just said? He wanted to see what was going on. At this moment, the newspaper that the red-haired man was holding tightly was deformed, and veins popped out on his forehead. Then he looked at everyone and explained. My Captain Roger was resurrected and fought a battle with the Marine hero Garp in Rogue Town. The faces of the cadres who heard this changed, and their brains that were hungover from last night were completely awake at this moment. This is really something extraordinary. Their captain, Shanks, is a current 4 Emperors and was once a crew member of Roger One Piece. Even Hawkeye was dumbfounded. How is it possible? How can Roger be resurrected? I saw him executed with my own eyes. There is no such heaven-defying ability in the sea. It should be impossible to resurrect, and death is death, even for people like Roger. The other crew members reacted. Yes, Captain, is this not false news? It's another fake news released by some unscrupulous newspaper owners to increase newspaper sales. Shanks reacted, loosened his grip on the newspaper, and then saw the source of the newspaper, World Economic News. Then his boss is Morgans. Said slowly. I'm afraid this is not fake news, this is published by Morgans, the World Economic News newspaper. This person still has credibility. The information released is true, although it may be exaggerated. Get ready and set off for the East China Sea. I wonder if it is possible to meet Luffy. Luffy must have gone to sea. The other members all understood. If it was Morgans, this was most likely true. I also understand why the boss is so anxious to go back. None objected. Hawkeye spoke at this time. I'll go too. This attracted him. Roger was once a terrifying swordsman. Of course, it's not only terrifying in swordsmanship, but also conquerors domineering. Not weaker than the current redhead. He is someone who can be compared with Whitebeard, the strongest man today. Of course, he wanted to see who did it. Of course the redhead didn't refuse. Therefore, the cadre notified the members of the red-haired pirate group on the island to board the ship and prepare to enter the East China Sea. The red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors. Of course, we choose to take the windless belt back to the East China Sea, which is a shorter journey. It's just the Poseidon class, the redhead can scare the shit out of them with just one conqueror's hockey shockwave. Moonlight Moria, who was in the waters of the Magic Triangle, naturally got such a newspaper and became aggrieved. How come there are people on the sea who have the ability to rise from the dead? His heart was full of jealousy. His devil fruit ability can only control the corpses of some deceased people, as well as well-preserved corpses. Of course, you have to capture the shadow and put it into the corpse to control it. In terms of strength, it is not as terrifying as before. For example, he obtained the legendary samurai Ryoma from Wano country. Even though it is such a powerful corpse, its control is not as powerful as the legend says, and even he cannot defeat it. The puppet you control is not only related to the strength of the corpse, but also the strength of the shadow. Only when the corpse is strong and the shadow is strong can you obtain a useful and powerful puppet. But how can a powerful shadow be so easy to obtain? Only the shadow of the strong is strong. Therefore, he controls many puppets and does not dare to take revenge on his former enemy Kaido. Moonlight Moria was very envious. The Roger controlled by that man was even able to fight with the marine hero Garp. Garp is still the same Garp as before, not much weaker. It is the appearance of marine, which is enough to show that Roger has peak or even close to the peak strength. He was very unwilling. If only he could summon Roger with such combat power, he could definitely beat his enemy Kaido to death. You can even resurrect companions who were killed by Kaido. It's a pity that such an ability is not in his hands. Sabayati Islands in Shaki Bar. An old man with white hair and glasses looked surprised when he saw the newspaper. Is this guy Roger resurrected? Still in Donghailuoj town, we also had a battle with Garp. Are these news really true? He felt that it was necessary for him to go to see. Meet this old friend. Shaky, I'm going to go to sea. Okay, I'll get you a boat, Rayleigh. Shaki replied. Once the vice captain of the Roger Pirates, he is now an alcoholic living in seclusion here. He even often sells himself to auction houses to make money. But he can always escape unnoticed. Those special handcuffs can't stop this guy. With a grateful look on Rayleigh's face, she drank the wine on the table in one gulp. Thanks, Shaki. Located in the windless zone of the Great Channel, in the Palace of Nine Snakes Island, in a huge bathroom. A woman with snow-white skin and an excellent figure was lying in the huge bath. Gently wipe your white skin. Igia is so beautiful. As the most beautiful woman in the sea, Empress Hancock, she has absolute confidence in her appearance. Any man will fall in love with her once he sees her. At this moment, a fat woman with long orange hair pushed the gate of opening and ran into the bathroom with excitement on her face. He yelled, Sister, there is big news. Hancock raised his white chin and said displeased ly. What happened, third sister? The third sister immediately came to the edge of the bath and handed her the newspaper in her hand. Sister, see for yourself. Hancock took the newspaper and read it with a look of horror on his face. How is this possible? Has Roger been resurrected? Who did this? The world will undoubtedly be in turmoil. Third sister looked at her elder sister and asked excitedly. Sister, why don't we also go to Roger Town? Maybe we can find Roger and learn from him the whereabouts of the legendary secret treasure. After hearing this, Hancock looked at his third sister coldly. What are you talking about? Have you forgotten our identities? Once One Piece Roger is resurrected, Roger Town will definitely become a gathering place for many powerful people. By then, even a disagreement may lead to a big war. If our identity is exposed in the war, we may be in disaster. The third sister's face was instantly frightened. Why didn't she think of her identity? Yes, their identity is the slaves of the celestial dragons. When they were young, they were abducted and sold to the celestial dragons by human traffickers, and they worked as slaves in the Holy Land for several years. Fortunately, he encountered Fisher Tiger who had climbed up the red dirt road and made a big fuss in the Holy Land, so he took the opportunity to escape. Although my sister is now Shichibukai, one of the great pirates, and the most beautiful woman in the world. But once discovered, he will be captured by the Tianlong people, and Shichibukai's identity will be useless. The title of the most beautiful woman in the sea will attract the attention of those Tianlong people. Those guys will never let their sister go. By then, not only will the three of them become slaves again, but even the entire Nine Snakes Island will be in danger. She realized she was wrong. Sister, I was wrong. Hancock said grimly. Okay, exit. Don't even think about the big secret treasure. Yes, that kind of thing is definitely not something she can obtain. If you want to seize it, it means fighting with strong people from all walks of life. But there is a fatal weakness behind her, which is the slave mark of the celestial dragon. If your clothes burst during a battle with the enemy and the mark on your back is exposed, it will definitely become a fatal injury. Third sister completely gave up on such unrealistic ideas and withdrew directly. Hancock, soaking in the water, read the newspaper. His face was very miserable. When will these days of fear come to an end? Even though I escaped and am now free, I am not mentally free. The slave mark on the back is like a time bomb. When will the Tianlong people be wiped out? Only then can you achieve true liberation. It feels ridiculous to think about it. How could I have such an idea? How could the celestial dragons be destroyed? They are the real masters of world noble, world government. The top 5 leaders of the world government are all celestial dragons. You know how powerful their power is. Want to overthrow the world government? No one in the world today can do this, not even the pirates' 4 emperors, who can't stand up to the serious world government. Looking at this newspaper, Roger actually came back from the dead, or was resurrected. I always felt as if something big was going to happen in the world. This is her woman's sixth sense. Roger was able to be resurrected because a very terrifying heaven-defying devil fruit user appeared in the sea. I don't know what else these people will do. He will probably be an enemy of the world government, and it may cause considerable trouble to the world government, but not necessarily. That would be a very happy thing for her. But she would definitely not associate with these people, because she was in the windless zone, she was a top strong person, and she was also confident, even if the resurrected Roger faced her like this, the beauty of the world will also be addicted to it. In the second half of the Great Channel, in the palace of King Dressrosa, a blond man wearing sunglasses and a pink feather coat leaned on the huge throne. In front of him was a young man with beta horns, a peaked cap, green long-sleeved hot pants, and bare legs. Holding a newspaper. Reported with a look of surprise. Young master, something bad has happened, One Piece Roger is resurrected. Doflamingo's expression changed after hearing this, and he immediately let out a cruel laugh. Lin Deji, I think you are itchy, you dare to make such a joke with me. He is in a very bad mood now, because he sent Torbal to the East China Sea to purchase goods, but the news was suddenly interrupted. Logically speaking, it is impossible. Things like phone bugs can be used for a very long time and will not be interrupted suddenly. Furthermore, the Don Quixote family was not short of money, and all they bought were exquisite telephone bugs. So they must have encountered an accident. But this was also the reason why he was puzzled. Although Torbal's bounty was only 90 million Baileys, or even less than 100 million, his strength could not be seen from this bounty. He is one of the top combat corps members, and his combat power is still there. This time we go to a place like the East China Sea, where bounties for pirates are pitifully small. How strong can the weakest sea be? Even Marine is pretty weak. Of course, there is no need to send 2 strong Marines to garrison the weakest sea, and they are still the Shichibukai Sea. Does anyone dare to check them? But it was indeed an accident, there is no doubt about it. Lin Deji's face froze when he heard what the young master said. Knowing that the young master might not be in a good mood right now, he quickly explained. Young master, I am not joking. This is news from the World Economic News Agency. Please read it. Of course he didn't dare to joke with the young master. When he was naughty, he was often beaten by the young master. It was a real beating. Although it could not kill him, it was definitely seriously injured and he would have to stay in bed for weeks or even months. However, the young master treated him well overall, so he had no resistance. When Doflamingo saw him like this, he stretched out a thread from his finger, penetrated the newspaper, then pulled it back, held it in his hand and started reading. There are pictures and there is truth. Frowning, has Roger really come back to life? Lin Deji breathed a sigh of relief when he saw such a scene. Fortunately, the young master gave him a chance to explain. He should have understood after reading the newspaper. Young master, Roger is really resurrected. Doflamingo thought quietly. He has seen the World Government Devil Fruit illustrated book, which collects all the devil fruits discovered in the world in the past 800 years. There is absolutely no devil fruit that can bring people back to life. Besides, how could something so outrageous happen? But what's going on with this newspaper now? Didn't this devil fruit ability appear and be obtained by others? This heaven-defying devil fruit actually appeared. But it's still not believable. He didn't quite believe that such a heaven-defying devil fruit was coming, so he took out his phone bug and dialed Morgan's. After a while, the call was answered. Morgan's voice came over the phone. Jakeker, what made you call me? Of course he asked knowingly. It must be Roger's news. Countless people had called to ask about the truth. Doflamingo let out a fury laugh. Morgans, what's going on with that newspaper today? Are you being honest with me? One Piece Roger comes back from the dead, something that will definitely shock the world. Morgans laughed. Don't worry, this thing is absolutely true. I won't make fun of my reputation. Doflamingo was stunned. This is actually true. It seems that this guy did not release fake news. Who did that? He must have such ability and talent in his hands. In that case, wouldn't he have Roger's fighting power? Of course it won't be easy, but you have to try. With this ability, he can turn the world upside down. Of course what he wanted to see was a world in ruins. Only in this way could he completely vent the grievances he had been feeling. The 5 elders were probably very upset after hearing the news. Roger made it extremely difficult to rule the world government back then, and now Roger is back. I really want to see the expressions of these old guys. Morgans replied. I don't know about this, and the people in Rog Town don't know much either. They have long been frightened by the fluctuations of the war and hid far away. These pictures were taken by some clever people. If nothing happens, I will die. He knew what Doflamingo had done, and he had already told the other party, so there would be nothing to communicate. Then hung up the phone. DeFranco wasn't angry. He believed that the other party would not hide his identity. If he knew the identity of those guys, he would definitely publicize it. This guy is afraid that the world will not be in chaos. Then he looked at Lin Deji. Lin Deji, go to the East China Sea to see why this guy Torbal interrupted the communication, and then come back and report to me. I understand, young master. Lin Deji immediately walked out, preparing to set sail for the East China Sea. It's just a small place like the East China Sea. There is no one who can make him happy to fight, but this is a rare trip, so just treat it as a trip. In the Whitebeard Sea of New World, there is a huge pirate ship like a whale, the Moby Dick. On top of it was an old man with white hair and a white beard, and his body was covered with medical tubes. Yes, he is the strongest man in the world, Whitebeard. Even the strongest man can't stand the wear and tear of time. There is also the damage caused by the shaking fruit. It gave him a powerful attack power, but also made his body more injured. Even so, he can still be called the strongest man in the world today. It's enough to show how powerful he is. At this moment, a man with blonde hair and a tattoo of the Whitebeard pirates on his chest quickly ran to the plywood in the middle of the ship, holding a newspaper in his hand, and his expression changed drastically. Dad, something bad has happened. This guy Roger has come back to life again. At this moment, not only Whitebeard, who was full of tubes, looked shocked, but Ace next to Whitebeard also had a look of disbelief on his face. Whitebeard looked sideways. Marco, what nonsense are you talking about? At that time, Roger was executed, which was openly informed by Dahai. There are even close-up shots, and the entire execution process is made public, so there is no fraud at all. The world government will not fake it either. Those guys won't go easy on One Piece Roger. This was Roger who went to die in person. Roger told him everything before he went to sea to die. Roger's purpose is to set off the great pirate era and let the legendary Joey Boy appear on the sea and change the world. This is his purpose. Marco didn't believe it when he saw his father, so he quickly handed over the newspaper. Before Whitebeard could take the newspaper, Ace snatched it away. Looked over. This look is definitely Roger. Although he was still a baby when Roger died, he had seen Roger's previous reward orders. The location in the photo is Rogue Town, and the old man Garp is also there. It seems that this matter must be true. Dad, I want to go back to the East China Sea. I have something to ask Roger. Ask him why he set off such a terrifying era of pirates and why he gave birth to himself again. Roger is the sinner of the world. He himself is of sinful blood and should not be born in this world. Even now I still have knots in my heart. He jumped up and flew to his boat. The ability to burn the fruit was immediately activated, and a huge flame came out from the stern of the boat to push the boat forward quickly. Marco, who saw this scene, quickly stopped him. Ace, come back quickly. But nothing could stop Ace, and the small boat gradually disappeared into the sea and sky. Marco was puzzled. Dad, are you just going to let Ace leave like this? Whitebeard was helpless. Let him be. He naturally knew Ace's identity, and told him his life experience the night before joining his pirate group. It seems that he is still not relieved. Although Roger is his father and the most vicious man in the sea, Ace is a good boy. Now that Roger is resurrected, that's not bad. I hope Ace can get out of the shadows in his heart this time and live his own way. On a mysterious island in the windless zone of the first half of the Great Channel. A small boat slowly docked. Orochimaru directed Nami towards the windless zone, even though he encountered some Poseidon-like creatures along the way. He was also seriously injured by Orochimaru using the wind release wind Kurijitsu, and then ran away. Even if those Poseidons were not killed on the spot, their serious injuries were enough to scare them away. Because the strong smell of blood will attract other Poseidon species. If they don't find a place to hide if they are seriously injured, they will definitely become dinner for other Poseidon species. Minato pointed to the family island and said with a smile. Sister Nami, our home is located here. This time she knew the route to sea, and it would be quite easy to go out in the future. However, in fact, it was not difficult for her to cross the windless zone. Nami looked at the huge luxurious manor on the island. This must be the location of Minato's father, and he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Because that's where her other half is. Is it really as handsome and gentle as Minato said? This girl Minato wouldn't lie, but she still felt nervous. What should you do if it doesn't suit your wishes? You can only know it if you see it. Daisuke's heart became even darker. Had she reached the devil's home? It's over, are you really going to have a baby? Vivi also looked bad at the moment. I don't know what my future destiny will be, but I should know after today. I hope this father is a good man and can let him go. Nami parked the boat, and then several people left the boat and landed. On the way to the manor, you must first pass through a dense forest. Just as they were crossing the forest, a man was wearing a black dress with red clouds, his sleeves were empty, one hand was hanging down on the open seam of the clothes, and his face was very calm. Orochimaru, you broke my father's order and ran away. Just accept the punishment. Orochimaru chuckled. You don't have to worry about this, Itachi. This time I brought two beautiful beauties back, and my father wouldn't be too upset if he was angry. I also brought back Kuina, who is quite talented. I met Itachi here, and I happened to test the power of his filthy earth reincarnation, and let this kid see if all the techniques were useless in front of him. He directly formed a seal with his hands, then slammed the ground, and a huge seal appeared on the ground. With white smoke produced. A figure wearing a red coat appeared, it was One Piece Roger. Let you see the ninjutsu that even Mangekyo Sharingan can't see. Roger, who had just appeared, noticed the unfamiliar environment. This was an island. Is this where his family is located? It seems that we can meet the mysterious father. It's just that the indifferent look of the boy in front doesn't look simple. Is he another person with special abilities? It seems likely that it is. When Itachi saw the man with a cracked face suddenly appearing on the ground, he realized that this was the art of reincarnation. It was actually used by Orochimaru. Ninjutsu is a ninjutsu that can summon dead souls, use dirty soil and the human body as its container, and reproduce its power. Very powerful. It seems that this is the purpose of Orochimaru's trip. Of course, he also noticed that there was a little girl with a crack on her face opposite, who must have been reincarnated from the dirt. How can normal people look like this? He was a little interested in Orochimaru's words. Can a person reincarnated from the dirty land resist his own eyes? The black pupils of both eyes immediately turned red, and 3 Magatama appeared. Before it stopped, the Magatama rotated directly to form a 4-cornered windmill pattern. Scarlet eyes stared directly at One Piece Roger. The pupil power quickly gathered and launched the pupil technique. Tsukuyomi. This is the special eye technique of his Mangekyo Sharingan's left eye, which can pull the enemy's spirit into his own genjutsu space. In the Tsukuyomi world, all factors will be under his control. As long as you fall into this trick of his, it means defeat. But after a while, Itachi discovered that the opponent's spirit was not pulled into the space. No response. Is this the deceased? No spirit is not afraid of its own genjutsu. It's really awesome. Nami, Daisuke, Nakigao, and Vivi who were watching the battle were frightened when they saw these eyes. Just looking at it makes me dizzy. It made them feel very uncomfortable. Minato warned quickly. Don't look into Brother Itachi's eyes, your energy will be sucked away. She herself didn't dare to look into those eyes anymore and shifted her gaze. Fortunately, it was not directed at them, otherwise their spirits would have been sucked into the genjutsu space. Brother Itachi's eyes are really scary. According to what he said, they are a kind of genjutsu that will hit you just by looking at them. How terrible. The 4 of them, Nami, quickly looked away, terrified in their hearts. Who are these people? Just looking at it makes my eyes feel so stressed, such scary eyes. Nami once heard Minato say that his brother was very powerful. I didn't expect it to be so powerful that I couldn't even look at each other with my eyes. Orochimaru laughed. Itachi, your Mangekyo Sharingan is useless against the dead summoned by the reincarnation of the earth. This scene made Orochimaru very happy. He had been hit by Itachi's move before, and just by looking at him, he was pulled into the genjutsu space, punished and tortured. That feeling, as if it were real, made him remember it even now. Now this scene proved that he had a way to deal with Itachi. One Piece, come on, teach him a lesson. Roger immediately raised his knife and rushed towards Itachi. Itachi watched such a person rush over without any thought of close combat. One Piece Roger. He has heard of this name, he is the top strong man in the sea. The top experts in this world mean that their physical skills are very powerful, not only their attack power, but their defense power is also extremely amazing. Although he is said to be armed and domineering, of course this level of domineering is completely useless in front of such a person. So he chose to use his special abilities. Mangekyo Sharingan, the power of the third god. Susanoo. The words just fell. I saw blue chakra sprouting around Itachi's body, and even a white body skeleton, a skull, and 2 skeleton arms. Facing the charging Roger, he directly controlled the huge bone fist and smashed it towards Roger. Roger was shocked when he saw such a scene. This is another magical ability. Under Orochimaru's control, he swung his sword directly towards the huge fist and withstood the powerful impact. The ground beneath his feet was sinking. This power is really terrifying. At the same time, the skeleton giant's left fist hit Roger again. Roger directly covered the armed domineering force with his left hand and withstood the punch. The big fist and the small fist hit each other hard, and the ground was devastated again. Even Roger's body sank into the ground. Itachi's expression became more serious, no longer as cold as before. This guy is indeed the top strong man in the sea. Susanoo, who can hold his own, is not a simple person. Then the two continued to fight, and the ground around them continued to shake. The collision force between the two was too great. Orochimaru, who was watching the battle, liked it more and more. This Mangekyo Sharingan's ability is really amazing. It can also summon such a Susanoo with strong defense and attack power. The combination of offense and defense looks very powerful. Nami and Nokigao were both shocked, how strong this skeleton giant felt. A very miraculous method. Can their children do the same in the future? Dasuki was also shocked that this man could actually fight Roger. It's scary, he is still just a teenager. Is there such a strong person in this family? This family is so terrible. Vivi was also shocked that a young boy could fight One Piece Roger. The two men were much more powerful than the palace guards. In fact, she has always had a worry in her heart. That is despite knowing that the mastermind behind the chaos that plunged the country was Shichibukai Crocodile. It would also be difficult to deal with this person when sending this news back. Because he is Shichibukai, a big pirate. Even if Marine knew this information, they might be afraid of Shichibukai's identity and would be unable to do anything. The relationship between the royal army and the rebels is now very tense. It is difficult to unite to deal with such a big pirate. The country is in a really difficult situation. But now Vivi sees a powerful character who can defeat Crocodile. The boy in front of him who could summon the skeleton giant certainly had a chance to defeat Crocodile. After all, no matter how powerful Crocodile is, he can't compare to One Piece. Of course, the boy who kidnapped him can definitely do it, because he can directly summon One Piece. Isn't it easy for One Piece to beat Crocodile? But if you want them to take action, it may not be that simple. You have to pay a special price. Do you really want to marry his father? Now there is only this bargaining chip that can make the opponent take action. Vivi herself is just an adult, a young girl who has just grown up. Is she really going to get married? Facing a stranger, it is still very difficult for her to combine with him. But think about your own country and your own personal happiness. She immediately leaned towards the country. As a princess, if she could not protect the country, she would not be worthy of being a princess. Sure enough, the country is more important. She seemed to have made up her mind. Kuina was also shocked when she saw such a battle. This young man in black clothes, red clouds, and black clothes is so powerful, probably because of his father. Although he does not use swordsmanship, his father is probably very good at swordsmanship. After a while, the battle between Itachi and Roger caused the earth to crack a lot. The big trees were damaged, cut off at the waist, and cracks appeared one after another on the ground, which is enough to show how terrifying the collision between the two was. The Kusanagi sword at this time is intact because it is made of the hardest material in the world. But the Susanoo on the opposite side became dilapidated. A lot of parts were broken by One Piece Roger. Even with the extremely strong defensive power of Susanoo, he still could not remain unscathed when faced with attacks from the top warriors on the sea. It's really good to be able to do this. Orochimaru sneered. Itachi, you lost. In fact, I haven't asked One Piece Roger to use his full strength yet. He's right. Roger didn't use trance to avoid, and kept a lot of energy in the fighting state. This is a family island, how can we use all our strength? Even though Itachi was his rival, he couldn't kill his brother. Itachi's expression turned cold and his face became serious. Orochimaru, you didn't use your full strength, do you think I just used it? Do you think I have no way to deal with such a reincarnated body of immortal dirt? Next, I'll let you experience my other invincible pupil technique. He had never used this technique on Orochimaru because it was too dangerous. Once touched, it will burn out and is an eternal flame. At the same time, this technique is also a huge burden for him, not only consuming a lot of chakra, but also consuming a lot of pupil power. His right eye suddenly oozed blood, and at the same time, his right eye stared closely at One Piece Roger. Amaterasu. A black flame rushed directly towards One Piece, wrapped directly around its body, and then burst into flames. One Piece Roger only had time to stretch out his hand to block it, but his body began to burn. He put it out with his hand, but it was useless, and his hand also burned. Orochimaru saw this. His face immediately froze. Amaterasu, what kind of move is this? It doesn't look like an ordinary flame. Itachi explained coolly. The fire of Amaterasu will never be extinguished unless the object it comes into contact with burns out. Orochimaru himself was surprised that there was such a terrifying flame. He was indeed a Mangekyo Sharingan. I really want it more and more. It seems that this is coming from his right eye, so both his left and right eyes should have a special pupil technique. However, this move may be very sharp against living people, but it is useless against One Piece summoned by the reincarnation of the earth. He controlled Roger to cut off the flaming body, and the limbs covered with black flames fell to the ground and burned up quickly. This time it was extinguished. And the body that turned out to be the reincarnation of the dirty soil grew again. Seeing such a scene, Itachi couldn't help but frown. What a powerful ninjutsu technique. This guy's native ninjutsu is really strong. At this moment, Itachi felt that his right eye began to hurt. This is naturally a side effect of Amaterasu. At this moment, Roger was helpless, with black flames burning and cutting himself. If he hadn't been unconscious, it would have been really painful. Nami and Nokigao were shocked when they heard the boy named Itachi introducing the terrifying flames. It's exactly what he said. Roger's cut body really burned up on the ground. It was really a terrifying flame. They don't want to get involved at all. I don't want to cut off my body, that would be too cruel. Unexpectedly, Minato's brother actually mastered such a killing move. Being hit by that flame will result in either death or injury. Even Dashichi felt scared. Such powerful black flames are too lethal. Roger even had to cut off his own body to survive. This is much scarier than Marine General Akainu's magma. If it was stuck, wouldn't that person be gone? The only way to save yourself is by cutting off your body. Cutting one's body is difficult for most people to do. Who would be cruel enough to cut one's own body? Cutting the body is accompanied by horrific pain. Vivi's eyes widened when she saw such flames. At the same time, the thoughts in my heart became more determined. If such a terrifying boy were to take a shot at Crocodile who destroyed his own country, wouldn't he be dead? Crocodile caused considerable disaster to the country. He provoked a fight between the king's army and the rebels, and even used forbidden powder such as dancing powder without permission. Most parts of the country are suffering from water shortages. After using dancing powder, heavy rain will fall briefly in the area, but the air in other areas will become thinner and there will be less rainfall. The king used dancing powder and there was almost no rainfall in other areas. This is why the rebels rebelled. Vivi didn't blame them at all. After all, they had no water and it was difficult to survive. And all this was done by Crocodile. Such a guy would not be able to quell her anger until he died. Many civilians died because of him. At this moment, a young man wearing glasses, wearing a white feather fabric, and a long knife at his waist came over. He said in a gentle tone. Itachi, Orochimaru, if you want to fight, just go to the training room. You can destroy it there no matter what you do. Stop now, you know. His tone was very gentle, but with a sense of command that could not be refused. Itachi immediately dissipated Susanoo and said respectfully. Yes, Brother Aizen. This brother is even more powerful than his own genjutsu. That sword has special abilities and is very powerful. This time he was negligent. He shouldn't have made a fuss in a place like this. The training room was a small space created by his father. No matter how much trouble there was, nothing would happen. This is also the place where their brothers and sisters fight against each other. Orochimaru was a little excited and wanted to try his hand. See if this powerful brother can use genjutsu to control the Roger he summoned. His genjutsu is the second best in his family. The first one is naturally the father. Brother Aizen, be careful. Under his control, Roger directly attacked Aizen with his sword. This time is different from the fight with Itachi, now he is going all out. Aizen's strength ranks among the best in the family. Even if Roger is summoned by himself, it may not be said that he will be able to defeat him. Aizen looked at Orochimaru with a smile and pushed up his glasses. What a naughty brother, do you even dare to challenge me? Looking at the people rushing towards him, he knew. It's One Piece Roger. When he went to sea to buy supplies, he naturally knew about the situation of the sea. Unexpectedly, his brother actually resurrected One Piece Roger. Is this his trump card that makes him so confident? Aizen himself also wanted to test how he compared with the top powerhouse of the sea. He directly pulled out the long knife from his waist. It collided with the Kusanagi sword swung by Roger. A terrifying coercion suddenly arose, attacking all around. The originally cracked ground splashed up a lot of dust. Then the two fought against each other again, and each collision produced fierce sparks and even shock waves. The two of them were attacking each other with open arms. Orochimaru was naturally shocked when he saw this scene. He has never fought against Brother Aizen. That terrifying genjutsu, you can't do anything about it. It's a kind of genjutsu that you can't even notice. Even if you don't look at the opponent, you will be attacked. He didn't understand the reason for this, he could only say that Shinigami's ability was too special. Brother Aizen can be said to be one of the strongest members of the family with Shinigami power. Orochimaru didn't expect that his combat power was so strong. One Piece Roger is as strong as Garp. Brother Aizen was able to fight Roger to this point without losing the slightest bit. The most surprised person was Roger, who fought against Aizen. It's really terrifying that just a young man has such fighting power. Is this man's father really Joey Boy? It doesn't feel like it, because his father may be more terrifying. Even Joey Boy shouldn't be so scary, right? This is just a young man. Roger was psychologically shocked. How could he have such fighting power when he was young? How could there be such a person in the sea? Shouldn't he be unknown? Nami and Nuo Chigao were all shocked. This person is obviously strong. After all, his opponent is One Piece Roger. Minato once mentioned that his brother Aizen was very powerful in swordsmanship, but he didn't expect him to be so powerful. If he doesn't lose to Roger, his combat power is equivalent to Roger's. Minato's father is really good at giving birth. Nami was very excited at this moment. If he gives birth to a child with his father in the future. If she could have such a powerful child, wouldn't Dahai just let her go sideways in the future? She seemed to see a broad road. A path to the top. This must be a gift from God. The first half of his life was really miserable, that's why he met Minato and had the opportunity to marry his father. Vivi was very surprised, she is really strong. If this person is willing to help him deal with Crocodile, then Crocodile will definitely have no way to survive. She saw hope that the country could be saved. Now I feel very excited. Maybe being kidnapped and brought here this time is not a bad thing, but rather a very lucky opportunity. As long as he marries his father, he can then ask this young man wearing glasses to take action. Or if any one of these three people takes action, Crocodile can be hung up and beaten. The gentle young man in front of him possesses a fighting strength comparable to Roger's. The guy wearing red clouds and black clothes can even emit terrifying black flames. Orochimaru can even summon Roger. No matter what, Crocodile is dead. She was filled with anger towards this person who harmed her country. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.